Wick's most recent panel about Yay had a literal JQ.
We're receiving a lot of denial, a lot of gaslighting for even trying to point out that this is a problem.
Anytime someone had someone half interesting on that wasn't a lefty or a lib, it was, oh no, oh, you're platforming Rob Noor again.
No, I want to know why I'm supposed to believe that you don't purposely want to bring into the online space.
What do you want? You won, okay? Twitch is a lib-cucked space.
Talk to MxVivianWulf. She'll actually educate you on how to do this and how...
For sure,
yeah,
but how
the
can
way Dooby is...
Listen, if Chud Logic, the man who did digital blackface, is calling you racist, and I don't know.
Ooh, throwing shade straight away at Dooby.
Like I said, I don't know how much I'm interested in talking with Dooby, because, like I said,
okay,
he just lies constantly. Straight up JQing in the mod chat.
Oh no, not the mod chat. What about Wick getting cancelled then? Wick's in trouble. He needs our help. Wick's been wicking out a bit too much. Well, okay, I just want to ask something. There's something weird happening with the old YouTube. Because, I don't know if I can see this because it's my channel, obviously. But for some reason, some people aren't seeing this panel on their Chud Logic YouTube thing. Because some people were saying they couldn't see it on my YouTube channel. And we're just trying to figure out what's going on. But anyway, there's all this drama. All this crazy drama has popped off the back of this, right? You can see it now. Okay. I don't know what it was. Maybe some weird thing, but it seems to be fixed now. But honestly, guys, I'm aware that Mindwaves did a whole manifesto about platforming. We had a panel which kicked off a drama which was related to kind of platforming in some ways. What's going on? It feels like old school Twitch poll again. For just a little moment, which I've enjoyed quite a lot. So I thought we could cover this because I thought, you know, it's like the old days. It's a little bit, you know, nostalgic, you might say. I've got to say, Wick is killing it at the moment. Okay, Wick is actually deserves to get some notice and a bit of success off of all this that's happening, because he's pulling together like interesting panels on interesting topics with people that are then causing controversy. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool and fair play to Wick. But Polly People was calling Wick out. The age of Wick has arrived. True. This is a shit show. Wick's most recent panel about Yay had a literal JQ Nazi, a racist as fuck lib, and a mountain of yikes. This was the panel composition malpractice by death of certainty. Here's my review. Now look, obviously it's only like a little, but this is indicative of the response that it got, basically. Everyone was calling Dooby. Everyone was calling Dooby like a fucking, like a Nazi and shit. Dooby isn't a Nazi, by the way. He's, what is he? He's one of those weird rightoid things. He's one of those kind of like fringe rightoid things. Too base for his own good. Anyway, he got challenged in the marketplace of ideas.
Ninetails says someone in this space right now is a fascist, and I want to know who.
Yeah, Dooby, the Pied Piper of Nazis.
Dooby is a fascist. That is your accusation?
He's the Pied Piper of fucking Nazis, yeah. No, I want to know why I'm supposed to believe that you don't purposely want to bring Nazis into the online space. How are we supposed to know that? Because you can just say it all day, but you're doing the opposite.
But they can literally just not go into the server. No, to be super.
No, because you're bringing the people from your server to other places.
And again, if people.
It is literally fucking 2020 again. It is literally, we come back. Guys, we're viewing this through some sort of time displacement situation. It is the fucking, this is what it used to be like. This is legitimately what this used to be like. You must remember, this is the conversation about Dooby, the politics Discord, bringing Nazis into the space. These are the kind of conversations we used to have. We're going backwards, and I like it.
But the run those places don't want them there. They can ban them. That's their space.
I can't ban somebody in Wick's server if you bring them there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then go to another space. If Wick wants them in his space.
I kind of like Wick's server. I prefer if you didn't ruin it. Thanks.
Why are Jews like represented highly in media? Because Jews be winning in media. Jews be making good films. They be making good business decisions. I don't understand where you're actually sitting on this position.
Do you think that's because they're Jews? So
No, Dooby. I think your server's connections to other far-right spaces
speaking,
far outweigh the average Discord server
Div,
connections
we
to
gotta let
far-right
him answer the answer the accusation. Then you. Can
Well,
continue.
like I said, I don't know how much I'm interested in talking with you because, like I said,
that's okay,
he just
but I'd like
fucking
to
lies
respond to things.
constantly.
You're right, I'm
Look
criticizing
at the
you for having no
content.
sense of accountability for
Let's
your
go.
actions.
So I'm
Base.
Like, grow up.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like, come on, guys, if we're gonna be so scared about Nazis, like, aren't I technically a Nazi? So you're already hanging out with one. Oopsie.
Wick After Dark. Very much so After Dark.
Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of the Death of Certainty Show, where we recognize no matter how right we think we are, we could be wrong. We should take that possibility seriously. We have a special edition of the show today, as we have the wonderful Amanda guest co-hosting.
Hello.
Yeah, and she's going to be offering us, if things go wrong, Canadian healthcare, right? So, but today we are giving special treatment, preferential treatment, to a certain kind of caller, to a certain demographic, if you will. We are letting people, and I specifically reached out to a few, who, let's say, have some problems with me, right? May have some criticisms, some contentions, and, you know, to varying degrees, they want to air that out. They want to talk to me about that. So I've provided this as a space, right? Today, a platform where they can come and be heard. So today is the anti-Wick show. So if you, in the audience, right? So first of all, you can call in for any reason whatsoever. That's still on the table. But it is what it is. Dooby, welcome.
Doobie.
Oh.
We have a
Doobie's
Nazi in
ready
my
to
chat
face
room here.
the music.
You have been accused. Portland was accused of racism. Portland came in to defend himself against those charges of racism.
Oh my God.
Would you like the opportunity, Dooby, to come in and to defend yourself against the criticisms that you are a Nazi?
Come on, hang out with the other Nazis.
Piper of Nazis, right?
Hello, Dooby. How's it going?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
well,
So, I did listen to Polly and to Ninetales, and I'm really upset that Polly left. Actually, see, I don't think that Polly is very intelligent, but I would have been interested in like letting her criticize me directly and like. just,
gang,
like,
if
honestly
you were
having
in
a
contact
conversation.
with Polly, and if she's willing, and if she wants me to do, like, I will mute while one talks and mute when the other talks. If she wants that level of moderation, I can give that level of moderation.
I can promise to be completely respectful and non-combative.
Okay.
Oh my
So,
God,
yeah, if-
Wick.
if
I'm a nice
Polly-
person.
Wick is getting content peeled, guys. Thank the fucking heavens. Finally. His commitment to this fucking... Oh, well, what? No, get the fucking content flowing. That's what we need.
If Polly wants the opportunity, right, and I will respect her a hell of a lot more if she does, to come on and
Bait her on to,
tell
bait her to
Dooby
coming on.
why she thinks he's a Nazi, then she's more than welcome. But in the meantime, go ahead.
And to be fair to Polly, this is a criticism that I've gotten for 5 or 6 years now with the Discord server. Because at the start of the server, we did allow Nazis on the server, just like open Nazis. And I wish we could do that again, to be honest with you. I think it's extremely important to actually confront the ideas, confront the people espousing the ideas in an honest way, actually deal with the claims that they're making, and just remove the mystery from it. Like I said, I don't think it's that mysterious. I don't think that these things are hard to confront. I think Holocaust now is easy to debunk. Just go step by step. It's not that hard. All this shit's been debunked 1,000 times before.
Oh, he's good.
So like, I don't know. If the claim is that I spoke about like the disproportionate influence that Jewish people have in the United States, not Jewish people as a class, but Jewish people as like the people that tend to own these larger companies in the record industry that Kanye comes from, top flight financial industry, the news media industry. A lot of these people are Jewish, and there are historical reasons for that. It's not, again, not a mystery. We know why Jews tend to go into these lines of profession. So if the criticism is that like me acknowledging that that's reality, and then suggesting that we do something to deal with this reality in a way that makes it more equitable, and it gets other voices into the mix here, and gets other perspectives into the mix. If that makes me a Nazi, like
Well, you can to steal
I
man
wonder
the
what
point.
like the definition.
To steal man the point. That is kind of anti-Semitic, right? Like to suggest that these things
I
are
don't
true.
know.
I don't
I
think
don't
it's.
know.
I don't think it's like. First of all, I think it's overstated, and this is one criticism.
Wait. It cannot. How can it be anti-Semitic? Well, hang on a second. It's not anti-Semitic to point out that a group is disproportionately represented. It's what the anti-Semitism comes in, dependent on how you explain that, right? So if you were to say that Jewish people were overrepresented in a certain industry, and that is just factually true, that you took the percentage that someone is of the population, and that was less than the percentage that was in that given industry, then that is just true that they're overrepresented for their thing. We do this with other races and stuff all of the time, right? It's how you explain that and what you think should be done about it that's important, okay? If you explain that as, you know, there's some sort of something inherent about being Jewish that leads to that outcome, and that there's like a cabal or like any sort of thing, that kind of stuff definitely is like anything from like mildly anti-Semitic to like less severe iterations of that. And if you're doing the cabal posting and stuff, then yeah, that's extremely anti-Semitic, okay? So just pointing it out in and of itself isn't anti-Semitic, right? It's how you explain it. Exactly. If you say that black people are overrepresented in prison because black people have an innate biological desire to commit more crime, then yeah, that's like race realism, race science, racist kind of stuff, right? But if you were to say, you know, black people are overrepresented in the prison system and you gave a sociological description, that wouldn't be racist, right? So yeah, it depends what you're saying about that fact. That's the part where the bigotry can potentially come in. But obviously just saying in and of itself a statistic about something isn't bad. The problem you've got, and where this kind of comes from to some degree, is back when it's actually the black crime statistics from 1350 or whatever it was. People would say that that is racist. Now, the problem with that is that often when people brought that statistic up, it wasn't out of like a concern for a good discussion about the reasons for that. It was literally doing the meme of, you know, I'm just asking questions. Why is that? And it's like, you're not just asking questions. You know, your reason you're asking that is to put across a certain message. Exactly. It was used. And this is the problem too. It was genuinely used as a dog whistle, right? But then as people started to discuss it more and talk about it, it actually became much less effective as a dog whistle because you could actually explain in a much more substantive way what was going on with it, right? And I think it's a similar thing with this, where it's getting used as a dog whistle quite often. But if we just undress it a bit and look at what's going on, it's probably going to be a much more effective way to deal with it than almost being afraid of it and being like, oh, no, it's... Do you know what I mean?
Had a view on the panel is I think you were overstating the overrepresentation.
Demystify them, yeah, exactly.
I don't know if it's anti-Semitic, especially even in like the official definition of the word, because it's not suggesting that they shouldn't be in that position. Like you start to get into a gray area if you're saying like we need to get rid of the Jews from the music industry, like that you're starting to bridge more on anti-Semitism because you're being explicit in what you're saying should be excluded from the mix. I think that, and I understand it's a really sensitive topic, but at the end of the day, if you can't make sort of like any commentary on sort of broad stuff, then there's always going to be this sort of level of protected class that like makes people feel kind of sus about Jews in the first place, because there should be a really strong like middle ground with a lot of protection because of the actual reality in some cases. But I think it's also important to recognize that there's anomalies in a lot of different industries that can have different effects, and to the point that I was trying to make earlier, and the conversation about like who calls who a Nazi, like to kind of to what Dooby's saying, like exactly, like if that is the criticism that labels him a Nazi, then where are we drawing this line? Because I get labeled a Nazi for things. Polly said she got labeled.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I really am, but I'm going to. Dooby,
based
ask you directly. Why aren't you a Nazi?
I'm not a racist. I'm not in favor of removing any groups from anywhere. I'm not in favor. Well, I guess if we want to get like super pedantic, I'm not like German, right? But we don't need to go there.
Why are you not?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not like in favor of any kind of racial superiority. I guess you could say that I'm like nationalist. I'm definitely a nationalist, and I definitely have some ideas that people would consider authoritarian. Actually, I would just say some of them are authoritarian, but so does everybody, right? I wonder like where the line is. So if I am a nationalist, I'm like a very pro-American person. That doesn't mean I'm okay with just like going around and hurting people for no fucking reason, or conquering countries for no fucking reason. I'm not that kind of nationalist. I just think that America should do what's best for Americans. Like that's. I mean, I'm in favor of lots of policies that Nazis would think are fucking terrible. I'm totally in favor of legal immigration from all over the fucking planet. I think we should encourage race mixing. I think that we need to do away with the problem of race by mixing more. I think that's a good thing, right? So like I don't know. I think that like, and like I was saying on the panel, I don't think it's like there's anything inherent about Jews that leads the people at the top of these organizations to behave in like a nepotistic way. I think every group's nepotistic, right? It's just how groups operate. So there's nothing inherent about Jews. This problem exists among white people too, and it's something that the left points out all the time about white people in these corporate positions, all the fucking time, right? But suddenly, if you point to another group that is doing similar things, that has disproportionate power, suddenly you're a fucking Nazi. Like I don't understand where the line.
You see how these are disanalogous in a way, and just to push back on you here, like the power, right? Like white people are not at risk in the same way that Jewish community is. They're just not. So the critiques do not hit the same, right? And white people are not in the positions they are for the same historical reasons. You alluded to this at the beginning, right? That the Jewish people, right, went into a lot of these industries because that's the only, they were pushed into these industries. They did not have a choice. So I do not think it's a one-to-one comparison to say, we criticize this group for doing it, and so we should criticize this group for doing this.
I think
Dylan, Wick is following in your footsteps, mate. Doing a controversial panel and getting a drama about it. Hey? He's taken over the mantle.
I think context. Yeah, I think 50 years ago it might not have been, but I think today, I don't think it makes sense that Jews in the United States are like the suppressed class of
right, the good old days. It's the good old days are back for a moment.
Not. They're doing much better than even white people on average in the United States. In education, financially, generational wealth, they're doing much better than white people. Right? So you could say, hey, maybe they're at risk because anti-Semitism is a thing. Sure, okay, but it's not very prevalent in the United States. You could say that there's an increase, but if you look at the actual numbers, it's not very many people being affected by this, right? It is massively overblown. Like a lot of these things are massively overblown. So, and even if it were the case, right, that they are at some risk, right, more risk than white people, more risk than black people, because of their identity in the United States. Even if that were the case, I don't think that makes them immune to criticism. To say that, I don't think that means that we can't point out that, hey, the people at the top of a lot of these ladders tend to be Jewish, right? And if we're going to be about inclusivity and diversity, that needs to apply to them too, right? We can't just say, hey, it's totally fine that if you look at the corporate boards of most media networks in the United States, you're going to find like mostly Jews, and there's nothing wrong with that like inherently. But if we're going to push for diversity, if we're going to push for inclusivity, it needs to apply across the board.
May I ask?
Otherwise, it is racist.
May I ask, and I want your permission before I do this, right? If people wanted to come and confront you directly about these things, would they, like, not just Polly, but others in my chat or in my Discord?
I don't mind.
You don't mind?
And like I said, I know that I can be abrasive.
Nationalism means race. What about in countries where you have no different races that are like indigenous? What about that?
Sometimes a little bit, like a tiny bit, a smidge. I will do my absolute best to be totally non-combative. Okay. Should I turn on my camera?
Please. The tribunal is convening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be heavy-handed with moderation here, right? So try to be brief in your criticisms, but be thorough. And you must give Dooby a chance to respond. He will be brief in his responses, and he will, and I will enforce this, hear you out. So, Weaponized Discourse is going through the waiting rooms, and WBD, when they're ready, bring them on. And stick to the critics, right? Dooby needs no defense, except for himself. Stick to the critics for now.
Ooh, based Wick.
So, Ninetails, you called last night, Dooby, the Pied Piper of Nazis. Here he is. Go ahead.
The Pied Piper himself.
Yes. So first of all, I just want to double check my audio's okay, and I just want to apologize if any feedback comes through because my headphones aren't working. So I'm playing this through your speaker. So it's up to Discord to filter that out. Yeah, my general concern is not with your server itself. I think there was a legitimate criticism with how it was named politics and how a lot of unassuming people joined into a place that was full of Nazis without realizing it due to its name and being present from the beginning of Discord. That's actually how I wound up joining, funnily enough. So there's a criticism of that, but I'm not here for that. My real criticism is that you tend to exist in other panel spaces like this. And you seem to bring with it both people who are outright Nazi/fascist/reactionary, because all three of those qualifiers count here, but also ones who may act like they're not for a very long time, but target people behind the scenes. And I don't think you have any way to account for that. And I think simply doing this carelessly because it gives you a sense of righteousness is really hurting a lot of people who don't have as big of a voice as you to express this. We're receiving a lot of denial, a lot of gaslighting for even trying to point out that this is a problem. And frankly, if you do continue to go to other spaces, I don't think you can say that you aren't making those spaces less safe for the people there.
So I'm going to try to expand on that and zoom in a little bit because I think that there is something there, but I think you miss it a little bit. So I don't think it's my presence that brings people along. In my community is not like a fan community. Right? They should talk me constantly. That's part of the culture actually, hating on me.
Well,
so,
may I ask something? Because I've been in a lot of
Well, you got this drama. You got Mindwaves. Mindwaves has done a manifesto about platforming, but I think it mainly is focused, from what I understand, on the Richard Spencer Stardust conversation, and he's just kind of breaking that down and his criticisms of that. I mean, to be fair, it probably has been a little while since we've had a big platforming conversation. I saw Mindwave. Someone posted a screenshot of DGG chat, and Mindwaves was shilling his manifesto, and people were just like, "Who asked?" Like he did not get a good response. Honestly, I think if you're wanting the attention of like a community, you need to do a sort of build it and they will come type situation. I don't think you can just go and be like, "Hey, come and look at this thing I'm doing." I don't know, man. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. But yeah. I like Mindwaves. Mindwaves and me go way back. I just think he needs to just chill a bit on some of this stuff. Apparently he wanted me to watch his manifesto, but it's like 5 hours long. Like, listen, I'm sure it's good and all that, but that's a long fucking react. That's a long old react. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You like a lot of goofy motherfuckers, Chud. Do you not like Mindwaves? Wait, is public opinion against Mindwaves?
Where that's a culture. Wick, I throw jabs at Wick all the time. Hopefully he knows it's only half serious at best. And I just want to know how you can tell the difference and how you know that those people who hate you aren't going to those places to ruin them just to spite you, for instance.
So let me give you an example of what I mean by like I hate. I don't mean like just like friendly jabs. I mean like, so for example, a few days ago, I had a big public debate on the server with a couple Muslim guys about Islam and Aisha and sexual slavery and a few different interpretations of like hadiths in the Quran. And it was like a huge shit show, right? Me and these other Muslim guys. And after that, I changed my name on the server to Allah, right? Like the Muslim like version of God, whatever. And I've been getting death threats for the last like 4 days from people on the server. Who just hate the fuck out of me, demanding that I change my name. I'm not going to do it, but I also don't punish them because I don't care. It doesn't bother me, right? Like that's the level, right? It's not like a friendly jab. It's you're going to hell. Fuck you, you F word, blah 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 blah. Right? In my DMs constantly for like the last few days. So I don't think if these people were to like come to a community after me, I guess that's a possibility, but I'd feel like I'd have trouble believing that it happens like very often. I feel like it'd be very rare. But to like the thing that I was gonna like steal your point with is I do try to bring people from my server into Twitch. I ask people to come on all the time, but Discord people are not Twitch people, so it's very difficult to like make that actually happen, because they just don't get the Twitch or panel space at all. They don't like the TOS, they don't like the moderators, they don't like anything, right? So it's very rare. But I would bring more people on here who are like hardcore like fundamentalist Muslims or hardcore fundamentalist Christians or hardline conservatives or fascists or like fucking authoritarian like communists. I'd absolutely bring them to the Twitch space, and I've been trying to, because I think it's important for these ideas to be expressed and dealt with in a public way. I don't think it makes any sense to push these people into smaller communities where they radicalize each other and get no pushback from anybody. I think people need to challenge them. And
when is Hitler getting a Fortnite skin? This is anti-Austrian discrimination if ever I've seen it.
Think that you need to have the tools to challenge them, and the way that you get that is by interacting with them in a space where it doesn't actually do a lot of harm, right? Nobody like if I have Haas on my server, and I've had him on a bunch of times, right? He's a very like tanky like communist. I don't think we're actually doing any harm. I think what's actually happening is we're giving the community a chance to interact with ideas that they don't hear very often from somebody who's really good at expressing them and is able to push back, right? And they're challenging the worldviews in the same way that they're challenging Hitler. And that's what the goal of the server is. It's that there are no golden cows. We want everybody to challenge every belief they have all the fucking time.
So my thing is that you said that you would bring in radicals from like all sides of the aisle, essentially. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not just radicals, but like anybody. I think there are a lot of people in my server who are amazing debaters, very, very intelligent people that I think would add a lot to the space. So I'm not like specifically choosing radicals, but I feel like most panels I've been on, and just like the Twitch space in general, is like pretty like, I think you're going to disagree with me, but I feel like it's pretty like lefty, right? Like pretty center left, if we're being like super charitable, but it's very left. So anybody you can bring on to rock the boat a bit, I think is a benefit to the space.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like, I think the conservatives that come through here, like having spent 3 years doing this now, the conservatives that tend to come through, they come on a couple of panels. Sometimes, to be fair, they do like just break some rule or something or fuck things up, and then they're gone. That's one element of it. But also, I just think conservatives are a bit lazy, that I've seen, and they don't really put much effort into it. There's some that are like that, and they're just a bit lazy and complain and blame everyone else. Although I do think there's like some issues for them in some ways. Yeah, they can be a bit lazy. And the other side of it is, yeah, I think that these spaces do. There was a lot more pressure on people if you platform certain conservatives, so they'd be like, oh no, you can't do that. You shouldn't have this person on. You shouldn't have that person on. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, they're probably older as well. They're probably older too. Yeah. I think we do need more right-leaning people on Twitch. And I think it's one of the reasons that panels died off is because there just weren't enough conservatives. There wasn't enough conservatives that could either like follow the rules or stream regularly enough to stay relevant or, you know, be compelling and interesting or something like that, you know? That's why I went to Ukraine to join the far right. But I think if you look back to Dylan's panels, you look back to like 2020, 2021, it was a lot more kind of flourishing with like different rightoids and stuff, and there were more people that were willing to come on. And for a number of different reasons, they just kind of slowly stopped. And then, you know, you are left with just a lot of kind of lefties, liberals, you know, very progressive space. Yeah, CTV. I mean, CTV probably exemplifies, and he's someone who did work hard, and he's someone who did put the effort in. But then obviously he just kind of like stopped coming on the shows and stuff. You know, and it's like, he's probably a good example of that pathway that you would have as a conservative, but over a longer scale. Bring back Roadman. Do you remember Roadman was on that panel? He's going, we're going to take the space over. We're here. And I was like, bro, you got like 3 viewers. What you on about? He's like, no, we're going to take it over, man. And then where is he now? Like, these people just are so full of themselves and never get anywhere. Oh, yeah, when he was talking about Discord, man. That was so funny. Roadman. But, you know, Wix panels, the funny thing is as well, do you know what's so funny about it, right? Wix panels have been have actually, you know, put forward some really good panel content. And this one on Yay didn't even feature anyone like that massive or that controversial, but it had Dooby on there, and that was sufficient to get enough people to soy out about it that Wick is now responding to that soying out. So you literally try and move the needle a little bit in like that direction, and people fucking lose their shit. It's crazy.
So my problem is that like most people would agree that if you want to talk about how there's violence on both sides, then you have to talk about the extremists on both sides, the fundamentalists. The radicals, the ideologues, the ones who are going to take their ideology to action against another group of people. And I think you're playing with fire personally. As you said, you've received death threats for doing relatively benign things. And I think that by creating that exposure without any sort of like controlled interaction, you're actually contradicting the whole point of de-radicalizing people, which is to protect the greater society. So by you exposing these people to other communities that aren't made for what you're doing specifically, you're forcing other people to play with the fire that you're playing with, and I think that's highly irresponsible.
I think people on this platform and in other Discord servers that I might visit have all the tools they have to get rid of these people if they don't want them there. So if someone does follow me and they're like a crazy radical, right? Get rid of them. Like that's fine.
Okay. Let's point out you're creating.
I'm going to
if I may have a very quick. You're also creating the circumstance where they have to ban somebody first, right? So there's an initiation of violence before the reaction.
I don't
wait. Initiation of violence. Wait, what? What's this about? It's about Discords, is it? Are we talking about Discords or what are we talking about?
again, so if somebody follows me from the community, right? Wait, are you talking about people following me or people that I bring in intentionally?
People that follow you from into the communities that you present yourself in.
Well, again, I can't be held responsible for that. Like, if my existence,
that's why I said I think you're irresponsible. So I rest my case.
Not
text violence.
Unless you're suggesting that I should stay in my server and go nowhere else, because if I go into any other space, someone might follow me. Right? There's a 1% chance someone's going to follow me. Like, I feel like that's kind of like a ridiculous standard to set.
Okay, so long as we seem to agree that you're actually being irresponsible with this. So as long as we're clear on that.
I don't think that's irresponsible. I think you have an unrealistic standard.
Before we get too far into this, right? Tuna Chip wanted to come in to back up Ninetales. Tuna also had. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Doobs, you're a nationalist. You talk about race on stream. The only thing that's like separating you from Nazi, not the actual meaning of the word, but the thing that people are calling you, is that you're a little soft on it, right? It's the fact that you're playing like right on this fence. So I think what people really want you to do, and the real call to action is, hey, we need someone to be the Nazi. We need someone to be the bad guy, to be the heel. Why aren't you stepping up to the plate? Queen Alexa ain't taking it. What are you taking?
So if you want like an actual Nazi, I can find you some. But I'm kind of curious. So you said like,
okay, that's
talk
pretty
about
funny.
race on stream. What do you mean?
I thought it was going to be soy, but
okay. Good. So if you're going to have the discussion, if you think that platforming the discussion, talking about like the predominance of Jews inside of businesses, and to talk about this like relation between people, when you go on stream, you are like having those discussions. People want entertainment, man. They want to know. They want an evil person to bash up against, and you're not willing to give it to them. So are you an entertainer? Are you trying to be yourself on stream? What are you doing?
No, I'm just not a Nazi. So the way that I speak about Jewish, like disproportionate Jewish influence or representation in like the top level corporate positions is the same way that lefties talk about white overrepresentation. And it's true. It is a problem, right? So if we want to push for a diverse society and inclusive society, these spaces need to be open for negotiation. And there are states.
They're different narratives altogether, by the way.
I don't agree with that at all.
They're equivalent.
Let's get into it. Come on.
States, hold on. That have pushed to diversify the corporate boards. And I think that's a good thing. I want that to happen. So is it just that talking about like Jews being overrepresented in certain sectors, does that make me like a Nazi or Nazi adjacent?
No, it's that you blur the lines between saying that they're highly represented and the idea that that's a bad thing when you say overrepresented. So this idea that there's needs to be an equal representation, that's stupid. That's weird. We live in a meritocratic society. People are more skilled. People are individuals. People have like experience as individuals. Now, if you want to say certain people are in positions, you want to call it certain people in positions that shouldn't be in them due to...
Wait. Is this guy like a capitalist or what? This tuna chip fella. I've seen him on panels before. I've got to read this comment from chat from Sunwater here. Why do people assume that anyone against Jews is a Nazi? More than just Nazis hate Jews. Oh, I remember you. You were talking about how that whatever his name is, Joel guy from Twitter is a gay Jew or something. You were saying something about that. You're that fella, aren't you?
Like family favors or something, you can do that. But you got to do the fucking research. You got to point to the real people. Or you have to admit that the real thing here is that you have this sentimental thing that you're able to lean on saying, oh man, we sure need more X inside of career Y. I just don't, you're playing this like weird in between where you're not willing to admit that you think that people need to be like racially distributed equal to society, regardless of the job. Like if we're talking about politics, maybe, but even then, just like to talk about it in entertainment of all places. Why are Jews like represented highly in media? Because Jews be winning in media. Jews be making good films. They be making good business decisions. I don't understand.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that Jewish people are overrepresented in the movie industry because they're good at making movies. I think it's more so. I'm not like I don't know enough about the Jew stuff really. I don't really care about Jewish people, but it's to do with like historical precedents that were set and industries that they ended up being involved in historically. Some of it related to like religious things that happened, centuries ago. I don't think it's this whole Jews be winning. I don't know. That's a weird way of putting it.
Where you're actually sitting on this position.
Do you think that's because they're Jews, that they're winning, quote unquote?
No, man. I think it's that they are individual. Like I think it's probably that they're being born into families that are encouraging them to go in those fields.
Right.
But that's not
families
due to them being Jews.
Yeah, okay, so families with that are encouraging them to go into these fields, that maybe have a family history, because there is a lot of nepotism in these industries, of other people in these fields, that might give them a leg
Using
up. So it's not really,
nepotism if you're actually qualified.
hold on. So it's not really meritocratic. I don't think we have a meritocratic system in the United States. I'm very surprised. I mean, maybe you're not a lefty, I
Wait,
don't know you.
no, it is still nepotism. Just because you're qualified for something doesn't mean you don't then benefit from nepotism. Because the nepotism is what can give you a foot in the door. You could be as equally as qualified as another person, but because you're family members with the right person, or you know the right person, you're going to get your foot in the door, and you're going to push forward where the other person, is going to find it probably harder to do so.
But most lefties, I think, would agree that the United States is not a meritocratic system. There is a lot of there are lots of ways that people are starting on unequal playing fields, and in some sense, that's okay. We can't expect there to be a totally equal playing field. But I think when the amount of disproportionate representation is this much, I think there's an argument for saying, hey, we should probably do something about this and try to get people on a more equal level. And if we can't get them on an equal level to start, maybe somewhere along the way we should put in a policy to say, hey, we want a culture that is more diverse, more inclusive. So we're going to favor these people in these positions. We're going to incentivize these people in these positions. And if at the end of the day that still means that Jews are like 70-80% of this sector, that's fine, right? So long as other people are given the opportunity to be there and give their perspectives and be in these spaces.
I don't know whether or not you think the United States and then the private corporations that exist inside of them and the industries that exist inside of them are the same thing. But like, I think that's like, you're really missing the mark if you think we're trying to say that the United States as a government and being not so meritocratic, it having some corruption. Like, what do you mean by that? You mean like the whole economic field? Are you an anti-capitalist? What's your point?
No, I'm not an anti-capitalist. I think the whole system. So whether it's like the government and the private sector, there are a lot of people I know that are being born in positions where they have just way more opportunity than other people. And again, in some sense, that is okay. We can't expect to just like equal the playing field at the start. But if we can recognize that there's a discrepancy here, and that the discrepancy has been called by historical either oppression or historical like opportunities that were given to some that weren't given to others, then we should level that playing field in some ways. Like
why?
Start, but
Why?
Because I want an inclusive society that doesn't just have like white people and Jews at the top because they happen to, by circumstance of birth, be born into a situation where they have more access to things.
So I'm sorry, I was being too soft when I called you the Pied Piper of a Nazi. You're just doing JQ. You're definitely a Nazi.
How is that JQ?
Oh my god!
Hold on. So when lefties are
people have forgotten what JQ means. Okay. The point of the JQ is that there's nefarious things or nefarious reasons that Jewish people are in these positions. That's what the Jewish question is supposed to be. Not just saying, oh, these people are overrepresented and what Dooby said. God, these words have just lost so much meaning as lefties have just driven them into the ground. Nazi, Jewish question. Like, what is going on? This is I'm losing the plot over here.
Argue that they're like that we need more diversity in like corporate positions.
Yeah, if your claim is that this is a response against Jewish entitlement, let me tell you something. You're not doing anything by putting more Nazis on Twitch. Okay, you're not doing anything by making them feel better about themselves. They have to work out their own shit. Okay, like I said, I'm totally fine with you having the server and isolation and stuff like that. But we don't need someone to save them who's just gonna fucking play into their stupid ass talking points.
Okay, so again, I don't think this is a Nazi talking point. I'm really curious as to, because I feel like
I think you're only saying that because it's politically expedient.
No,
it is a midwit talking point. It is like a silly talking point that is begging a question that is contradictory with your whole like point.
What's the question that's being back?
The point you're begging this, like you're taking this idea. The Jewish question is the one being begged because you're saying that whenever people are in prominence inside of a position, whenever people are represented more than their general population, that is a problem. Can you explain why people being represented more in like a business field matters?
Hold on, housekeeping, gang. Housekeeping for a minute. First of all, right? Thanks, gang, for watching. Thanks, Dooby, for being willing to do this because accusations have been leveled. If you guys want to join the discussion, which is heating up and we're getting more people, please do so. Also, feel free to donate because I need your money.
Yeah, Wick needs the money. He needs to fix that teeth.
I'm just saying, Dooby, you seem extremely reliant on people that you're talking to being leftists and being like anti-capitalists or anti-America in order to agree with their points. But that's like a weird cudgel. You're like taking advantage of like an argument that hasn't even been proven. Do you even agree with the argument that representation needs to be equal based on what race, just because of like race. I don't understand why entertainment would need to be equal.
Well, you're not. Well, that's because you're not engaging with what I said. Right?
Okay,
So,
sure.
so first off, I'm not an anti-capitalist. I'm very much a nationalist. I think I made this very clear. So I think that
Be the same.
One of the ways that I am a nationalist is that I think that America needs to be a diverse society. I think it needs to be more inclusive. I think we need to recognize the results of like generational oppression. And if some of those results is that Jews tend to be more overrepresented in the banking industry.
Okay, legit DPS. I didn't see your other message got auto-modded. Bro, know what, Chud Logic? Fuck Dan. I better not say that. It could be TOS. F the J's. Nobody gives a shit. World War II is a whole fucking century ago. F the J's. Brother, no one cares. Ooh. Oh dear. Yes. Yes. I'm going to censor you right now. I'm going to send you away for a day to calm down, all right?
For example, and
yeah,
it's
it's entered the chat.
Groups,
Just
not
relax.
having as much influence there, not having as much say, not being able to provide their perspectives in this industry, then yeah, it's something that we should amend, right?
Why?
And if you, because I think that we can't like look at people as like how do I explain this to you?
Don't you recognize that that's inherently against capitalism?
I think identity matters. Hold on, I think identity matters.
A WIC panel's worth going on. Yeah, the last 2 WIC panels I've gone on, I've enjoyed a lot. I think they've been great. Dylan, you should get on one, 100%.
In the same way that if these industries were dominated just by like 100% white people, I think that matters. I think that if you're growing up in a similar like upbringing, culture, tradition, it's like all the people around you, you're not really going to understand the black and brown people who didn't come from that culture, tradition, and upbringing. And I think that because we have such a diverse society, I think it makes sense for the levers of power to have diverse people holding them.
But are the levers of power, as you describe it, actually supposed to be meritocratic, which is like a capitalist belief, or are they not supposed to be? You're not drawing this line
right now. I've told you like 3 times. I don't think this is meritocratic.
Why do you like capitalism? Then? What's good about it? Why are you pro-capitalist?
I'm not like I think we're like I'm not like an ANCAP or something, right? When I say pro-capitalist, we've had arguments about.
Sorry,
I'm
RTBA.
totally okay with the government nationalizing certain industries that I think would be beneficial for the nation, right? Like for example, the internet or like gas, for example, like the fuel industry. I think that there are certain areas where there shouldn't be a profit motive, like healthcare, college education, right? So I'm not like a capitalist in that like I'm like totally like pro the individual doing whatever the fuck they want, all the fruits of your labor, et cetera, et cetera. I think we need to be aware of the social context and of the impact to the rest of the people in your community.
I'm telling you right now, man, I don't think that you're a capitalist. Like I just don't, and I don't even mean this in like an extreme way. I think that like you're saying that you're a capitalist, but you sound a lot more like a lefty, and like part of this like organized system thing. I don't think that like, I don't understand why you like America so much if all of these things that you see are problems. The only thing that makes sense is that there are a couple of things that work together. The thing that we have now is a good power system and needs to stay kind of the same, but be changed in these small ways, which always incentivize government power. This is why I think that people think you're a Nazi, right? Because you want to privatize industries, concentrate power, and move forward and like wrinkle out a free like market. Now that's
honestly, I have a question. Can I get goes off of this?
What did he say?
I do want to let other people in just real quick.
So just to follow up on something you said, I was being super patient.
You can, but after your follow up, we need to give space to both Yamato and Chris.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, agreed.
So you said that you don't feel responsible for what happens if you put yourself in other communities. I'm just curious, if say a Nazi were to become popular because they started in your community and then went.
Sorry, I got distracted. What's going on? What did that tuna chip fellow just say? What was he talking about? Nazis are pro-government oversight to make sure companies aren't abusing their customers.
Community that they found out about you, would you not feel responsible at all for making a Nazi, say, popular and viral online?
No. So this has already happened, actually, sort of. But he's not a Nazi anymore. I wouldn't call him a Nazi anymore. So Flamenco, who I think is something.
Oh, okay. That's debatable for sure.
Well, he used to be way more far right,
far white, huh?
Both of them, right? To the point where it's a funny story.
Thanks, Gold South. I'll check it out.
Was like a Nigerian guy. He owes him like $100 actually, because years ago.
What's this?
When the fucking Charlottesville riots happened, right, and the Unite the Right thing happened, and I think it's Heather Heyer was like murdered by the
Irish with some sun. Correct. For some reason, platforming discourse has come up again. I feel like Ye kind of started it off, but now it's once again come back to. is your 50 viewer, Twitch panel harmful platforming? And it's just like, oh my fuck, are you serious? We're back here again.
That fucking idiot in the car. Flamenco was totally in favor of Unite the Right, totally in favor of those groups, and was fucking sure that the guy wouldn't be prosecuted, right? And
this is fun though, yeah. The Nazi tribunal
made his own platform, and now he's like pretty well known in certain.
I mean, I think historians will look back on this as the Nuremberg trials of 2022. To be honest with you,
right? Like on Jose one. But I wouldn't call him a Nazi anymore. He's definitely not as far right now as he was back then, and I think that's a good thing. But if somebody hops into my server, is like super far right, is a Nazi, and then hops into some other community because they saw me in there and gets popular, that's not really. I can't really be held responsible for people's inability to convince Flamenco out of his ideas.
Well, it's like I said, that you're playing with fire, and you're going to other communities and forcing other people to play with the fire that you're playing with to the point where it affects the larger online space. And to say,
okay, by the way, this 3 years, we've had this conversation for over 3 years, and that I've been around, that I've heard of it at least, probably longer. What's happened? What has actually happened off the back of all of this? Twitch as a community, as a Twitch poll, is as lefty and liberal as it's ever been. Okay, righties, they're barely anywhere to be seen. Nazis, barely anywhere to be seen. If you're talking about people in Discord servers, I mean, just ban them, I guess. I don't know what the if you don't like someone in your Discord, just literally ban them. I banned someone yesterday because they were being a retard. You can literally just hit that ban button for whatever reason you want.
Wait.
No, dude, you had plenty of time to. You'll get a chance to respond. Holy crap! Hold on. You'll get a chance to respond. I always let you respond. You will get a chance to respond. We just had a long debate where you had plenty of chances to say all this stuff.
I just want to say one thing. 10 seconds.
Okay, fine. Okay,
cool. I did not say that Dooby was the source of all evil for your channel.
I said politics Discord server.
I simply said it. No, all the politics Discords.
Yeah, this is basically when was this? 20th of March 2021. This is what I mean about how it's like we're going back in time to the old days. I kind of like it. It's like nostalgia for me. But yeah, the good old times. Well, today, guys, we get to enjoy a little bit of nostalgia, okay?
That you're not bringing Nazis into this space is, I think, delusional.
Do you think I'm being forced right now?
I think that if Nazis come to your space, you're going to be forced to deal with it, yeah.
Well, I mean, forced in the most...
Forced to deal with it. She's acting like it's fucking, they're like jackbooted thugs marching into the fucking Sudetenland, and you just ban them. I've had Nazis join my Discord, and they've crossed the line pretty quickly. Normally, they post some crazy fucking meme, and you just ban them instantaneously. Job done. Over. Job fucking done. Why are you acting like it's a big fucking deal that your fucking 50-person Discord server has one person come in that's like a Nazi? Just ban them. What are you complaining about? Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Weird sense of the word, right? I'll be forced to.
I just answered your question, Wick. I just gave you the answer.
Okay. I want to give space to Chris and Yamato. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what type of reverse psychology psyop Tuna was trying to do against Dooby. He's not a lefty. I don't know why you even ran down that logic. That's kind of ridiculous. I don't know how many times Dooby has to tell us exactly who he is for us to actually believe him. He's not lying about anything. He's super honest about his community, what his goals are, everything, right? We know what it is. This isn't new. So we just have to accept that the people who run these spaces are they know what it is. This is a maximization of the entertainment value of all these things, and it is playing with fire. It is dangerous, but by now we all know this is what these people in these spaces sign up for. This is what they want. So I mean, what are we going to get at? What exactly are we getting out of this? If there's no incentive for the change to happen that you want to happen, especially from the audience members, it's just not.
Okay. This is, again, something I've heard. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. What dangerous stuff has come out of it? What has actually happened? This isn't the first time we've had this conversation. This is a conversation that's happened before, repeatedly, over the last 3 years. So what exactly is it that has happened? What precisely has happened that you can point to that, well, that's what I was warning you about? There was a conversation that I last had with Viv, which was about a general feeling of this space becoming less progressive or something like that. And I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Like, what is it that's happening? Do you know what I mean? You can have your little stream and you can ban people and whatever. Like, there's all the, you know. I just don't see it. And, you know, if you could point it out to me and say, look, here's what it is. Here's where the danger is. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that looks pretty bad. And these are concerns that I've shared myself. And I've said, I think this is potentially risky. I think that's potentially risky. You know, like I was critical of Prime Kai when he started doing his thing where you could just, anyone could hop on. Do you know what I mean? But like reflecting on it now, I'm like, well, nothing really happened except maybe Prime made his content, you know, less appealing to people because people were just paid to get on the panel. You know, but that, you know, funnily enough, he also at the time banned Flamenco off of the panel because at the time I think he was considered to be pretty far right, you know. But like nothing has ever really happened off the back of a Prime Kai panel. The things that you see happen outside of Twitch poll in the far more influential spaces that exist. Ye isn't going on Alex Jones and whatnot because of Twitch poll. Like, it's totally irrelevant and separated from that. If you wanted to have a conversation about platforming and stuff like that, the mainstream media is probably a much more relevant focus of your attention, you know? That's the place that you want to be talking about. And that's what I said about MxVivianWulf's thing. I mean, obviously, if he wants to do his thing, it's up to him what he does it about, you know. But if he's genuinely concerned about platforming, I just feel like this space is so small and irrelevant as to be pointless to really, you know, make meaningful points about. Yeah, like Joe Rogan. You could have a conversation about Joe Rogan. You know, and the criticism of Joe, you know, the big people that get in front of millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people. That's the stuff where you could probably have a more interesting conversation about it. And what's the responsibility? Yeah, like Richard, exactly, Stylo. When Richard Spencer was on CNN and stuff like that, and it was like quite meager, like responses to him. It wasn't like particularly challenging. You know, that's the kind of shit that I look at and I think, yeah, that's the stuff that I'm a bit more like Jesus. Like, you know, normies maybe getting a good impression. But even with that, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these conversations don't really result in anything and nothing really changes, but then nothing really happens that's particularly bad. Well, yeah, Mad Doctor, I think I agree. The over-policing of platforming is the reason Twitch poll died. Anytime someone had someone half interesting on that wasn't a fucking lefty or a lib, it was, oh no, oh, you're platforming Rob Noor again. Rob Noor's a fucking retard, okay? Rob Noor's a retard, and it's funny to get him on and watch him soy out about whatever shit he's soying out about on a given day and try and act cool, right? That shit was funny, but apparently it was like causing some harm to have him on. I don't fucking know. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you don't like the idea of being on a panel with Rob Noor, don't be on a panel with fucking Rob Noor. What fucking righties are even left? Like, you know, I can barely think of any. Yeah, Rob's a funny guy. I like Rob Noor. I liked it when he debated himself. That was a really funny video. Wicked super counterpoints. Yeah, counterpoints probably. CTV's gone. Lecture Fan still exists, but I think he stopped doing panels. American Nacho, I don't know if he really makes content anymore, but he was a pretty good guy to have on a panel. But yeah, panels used to be like, you know, big ticket events. And then there was a time, I think, when panels were like, oh God, I would get, oh, Chud's going on a panel. This is going to suck over the past few months. A couple recently have been good that Wix put on. Yeah, a lot of the righty audience has left as well. I think you're right. Oh, well, some of them are still left in my chat, obviously.
If the audience...
No, I want to know why I'm supposed to believe that you don't purposely want to bring Nazis into the online space. How are we supposed to know that? Because you can just say it all day, but you're doing the opposite.
Well, the goal, if to bring them into space, is probably to either hear from their point of view or de-radicalize them. Sometimes we can admit de-radicalizing doesn't always fucking work, right? And it's just a Nazi in the space. Well, you know what we do? We fucking ban those people.
Victims of Nazism are the ones who pay for when it doesn't work, not Dooby.
Well, we know this.
You don't think Dooby knows that?
Yeah, and I think being nonchalant about it shows how absolutely vile this is.
We know this.
I think that's a weird slippery slope.
You know, it feels like these people are like making these. It's like, what do you want? You fucking won, okay? Twitch is a fucking lib-cucked space, all right? It's just fucking libs and lefties now. There are no fucking prominent right-wing streamers. The panels are dead. There is no like, what more do you fucking want? Like, do you know what I mean? It's a fucking wasteland. What, you know, what else could you possibly want from what your desires are here? right? It is predominantly, overwhelmingly a progressive space. The TOS makes it so as well. The TOS is hardline making it progressive too. There's some conservative things. Like, I don't know, I just don't know what fucking people want, what else people want. And then the second Wick has a panel that's halfway interesting, and you have fucking people like Dooby on there, people start losing their shit. It's like every possible thing has got to be stamped out. Anything that isn't lefty, progressive, lib, or very fucking meager right-wing talking points, they've got to go out of the way to go and fucking stamp that shit out. Let people have some controversial figures on and get a bit spicy. Who fucking cares? None of it's going to mean anything anyway, and in a week we'll be talking about something else. I don't know. If I did politics streaming, I'd be banned very, very fast. I think so.
Don't you think though? Also, it is important to have a de-radicalization space because
for people who know what they're doing and not bleeding this into the rest of online politics. Yes.
But,
talk to MxVivianWulf. She'll actually educate you on how to do this and how.
For sure,
yeah,
but how
the
you...
way Dooby is doing it is absolutely wrong. I'm guaranteeing.
How can you like? But that's exactly it. Like Dooby's just like.
Yes, the true way to get people to be radicalized is to scold them and wag your finger at them. Correct. That's true.
Random frog on the internet. So how can we trust that this frog went to that frog school to get that frog education? Like at the end of the day, he's just a person.
Oh, Spaniard, how's it going?
Exactly not.
So,
I don't want him in other spaces.
I don't know about that, but like I did.
He's exactly not, and that's why I don't want him in other spaces.
Dooby does have connections to talk to like people like Daryl Davis, who does de-radicalize people. Now, whenever I bring up Daryl Davis, there'll be some people that say it doesn't work, or he's just the C word that I'm not going to say, or anything like that. But like
a Canadian.
Yeah, Caucasian, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you don't think that he's brought these people that de-radicalize into the space to help de-radicalize people? Because it was like, thanks to Dooby, I got to speak to Daryl Davis, right? But like, are you saying that like that doesn't happen behind the scenes and it's just a Nazi server and fucking nothing but swastikas get posted in like hidden chats and it's all just a game?
There's never a real discussion being had, and it's just a bunch of memeing and shit posting all of the time. And there's very few downtime where there's little violence going on. Yeah, I don't think people are being de-radicalized. I think it's a giant echo chamber and a circle jerk.
I am trying to have an actual conversation, right? Or at least have you all have an actual conversation.
Step off for a while.
But
I won't step off, but I'll step down for a while.
Okay, but that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here, right, is that I am allowing people who have serious criticisms of what Dooby is doing to come on and confront him and question him directly. If it doesn't end up being a real
silence is violence.
That's on
as
you,
well,
buddy, right? That's on you,
guys. If you think fucking silence is also violence. Okay, there's violence everywhere. It's all over the place.
Wait, you don't think this is a real conversation?
Wait, can I ask a question? So.
I'll be back in 1 sec. I'm still listening.
Spend some time on my server, and I know I think I've told everybody on Twitch this. My server is not for everybody, right? It is a very aggressive place. You're gonna find lots of people who hate you for who you are and are extremely excited to tell you about it. So I've been very open about that. But I don't like. How would you say that it's an echo chamber? Like, we have a very, very diverse community. Like,
because it's a dehumanizing climate.
Wait, hold on. Dehumanizing who?
What does that mean?
The people who are at the butt of the jokes going on there.
Everyone? Yeah, like
you can say that, but there is a particular majority who feels rather impervious.
Hey, thank you for the sub, Magnum.
Jam. The normative majority, I don't think race actually matters on your server. It doesn't seem like, but every other minority seems rather excluded, or if not silent.
Are we talking about trans? Are we talking about like trans people being excluded? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying that. Okay, so with your server,
hey,
Chud is right. Silence is violence.
Thank you for the bits.
Especially the silent farts I rip after eating Brussels sprouts. Yep.
Okay. That legit DPS person is messaging me about getting unbanned. I've timed you out for 24 hours for saying I should have banned you for what you said, but I'm being a bit generous to you, okay? So just calm down. You'll come back tomorrow. Right, guy. You'll even be back before my stream starts because I won't be starting until 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Guys.
I'm saying it's not a place to de-radicalize people.
Ads are going up next month, okay, to meet the new requirements. So get your subs in while you can.
With the broader community, you make it unsafe because people who would otherwise avoid your server no longer can.
Wait, they can literally just not go into the server. No, to be super,
no, because you're bringing the people from your server to other places.
And again, if the people that run those places don't want them there, they can ban.
Sure, you allow open bigotry and hatred. Eventually, the recipients of the bigotry will stop engaging with the space, thereby making an echo chamber. So there's a truth to like the chilling effect it can have, where open bigotry can eventually result in people of the target of the bigotry leaving the
Welcome to Chud Nation,
the space, resulting in an echo chamber. But then I guess it depends what you mean by echo chamber, right? Does echo chamber mean no minorities, or does it mean like it only has one particular flavor of like political thought process, you know? But, you know, I think I'm of the opinion that not every space is for everyone. And if you are not happy with the space that you're in, then you've kind of just got to leave it, really. Like, I think that more broadly on social media, I think that it's right to have like rules in place that prevent certain specific forms of bigotry, just because it does have that chilling effect. And I think you have a basic entitlement to have like some level of, you know, moderation or something like that. Either that or like extremely efficient block tools where you can block certain terms and stuff like that.
How do I make money off depressed people?
Hey, thank you for the 420. It's a complicated issue and it's a balancing act, right? But I think in individual Discord servers, that's up to you how you run it. You know, there's overarching terms of service that exist, but like if you want it to be a bit more boisterous and a little bit more, you know, whatever, because at the end of the day, you do have the baseline TOS, and if you look at Discord TOS, you're not allowed to have certain forms of bigotry or whatever, right? It's unacceptable to attack a person or a community based on attributes such as race, ethnicity, caste, national origin, sex, gender identity, gender presentation, blah, 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 right? So I'm very skeptical about the idea that it's just like open season on like people in Dooby's Discord. I presume there's probably some contentious conversations about controversial issues like trans issues, for example. And there might be examples where, you know, maybe there is a bit more egregious stuff going on, but it is still governed by these terms of service. So I would presume that Dooby has got some measures in place to make sure people don't take it too far.
Welcome
if only
to
so his
Chud
thing
Nation.
doesn't get yeeted.
Fishing but gifted.
Hey,
a tier 1
Fishing
sub
Bot,
to
thank you for the gifted.
Have underscore crabs. They have given 3 gift subs in the channel.
But yeah. Oh yeah, voice chat as well can be quite difficult, I can imagine. I don't know, man. I just think that, like, you know, if a Discord isn't for you, if you feel like these rules are being broken, you can obviously report it. And then if a Discord really isn't for you and you feel it isn't being moderated to your satisfaction, then you've kind of got to leave. But yeah, I don't know.
Ban them. That's their space.
I can't ban somebody in Wix server if you bring them there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then go to another space. If Wick wants him in his space.
I kind of like Wix server. I prefer if you didn't ruin it. Thanks.
There are plenty of like lefty safe spaces on the internet. Like you can go there if you don't want to talk to these people.
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of
everything you can to downplay what you actually do. Thank you.
Oh, listen.
I don't think he downplayed.
Yeah, he's been completely fucking honest. He doesn't downplay anything. I agree with Chris. He lets people know exactly the type of fucking person he is. He's just been extremely honest.
He said there's zero responsibility. I don't know how you can't think that that's not downplaying it.
That's his belief, right? He believes he has zero responsibility.
I don't care if it's his belief. It's stupid. I don't know how anybody who isn't.
I guess maybe explain why it is my responsibility. So if I go into a space like this one, right, and I don't
because
visit
you can't have it both ways.
I don't visit Wix server often, but when I do, if someone from my server
I can't believe Santa swore me,
and they're just a piece of shit, right? Why is that my responsibility?
Because you can't have it both ways, where you're claiming that your de-radicalization is harmless while you're also spreading people who may be radicalized into other communities that aren't inherently radicalized.
Wait, okay, so my server is not a dedicated de-radicalization space. Like that's not what it is.
Well, then stop claiming that there's any benefit to it. No, sorry. If it's not, then I don't. Then it's not. Then
okay,
you can't fall back on that.
So is it? All right, listen.
It's facetious.
So this
it undermines the people who do real work.
This might come as a stretch. But is your server like just a place for people to come and shit on each other so they can get some type of understanding about one another through shitting on each other?
What is this getting an understanding about each other? How do you know that?
Well, it's important to get.
I'm asking a question.
How can any of us quantify this though?
I think this is just, you know, if you want somewhere where you can go and just have everything, every aspect of your identity validated without question, and in fact, it's against the rules to not have your identity in any way questioned. There's plenty of spaces with which you're able to do that. And I think, you know, there's loads of those places on Discord. And, you know, I'm surprised. I mean, Wick, obviously, Wick is very much like a free speech guy, right? So I find it kind of unusual, the idea that like, oh, well, I like Wick's space. I mean, sure, but like Wick has always kind of had this commitment to the idea of this principle of free speech and getting people with different opinions and all this kind of stuff. So like, is it really a surprise if he's like willing to have certain people in his Discord? I don't know. It just does, that seems kind of par for the course with Wick. Yeah, he's got fundamentally liberal core values. Absolutely, yeah.
Welcome to Chud Nation.
Thank you for the sub,
This
Tomato
shit
Brew.
is cringe.
True.
Can be there and you can see it. So the way that I
basically just framing this that way, it's better for him. Sorry, I'm done. I really am done.
The way that I think of my server is like an online bar, right? Where people come in, they want to yell about the shit they saw on TV or on YouTube, and they yell at each other all day. And eventually they get tired of yelling and they have actual like decent conversations. It does happen, definitely happens. And I've been there long enough to see lots of people come in just like totally hating a certain religious group or minority group or whatever, but eventually these people are in the community, they're not going anywhere, you need to interact with them, and you start to see them as human beings. And I think that's the key to de-radicalization. My server is not like a dedicated de-radicalization space, but it definitely happens in the community. It just, when you're interacting with somebody every day and you're talking about, beyond talking about the political news of the day, you're talking about life and the things that you like and the experiences that you've had, I think you're going to need to see them as a human being at some point, and that definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, also like because at the end of the day, like people are less scary if you're thinking about even in the case of other communities.
You're not entitled to go into any and every space and have it perfectly conform to you and your feelings. Well, yeah, I mean, I think I had this problem. I had this problem with my Discord, where basically there was friction because my community. Thank you, Kez, for the sub. My community was starting to become basically I noticed that I'd become a lot more, spicy or whatever on stream, but my Discord hadn't really followed suit, and there was like rules in place that that essentially I was breaking on stream, and I thought, well, this doesn't seem right. Like my community should be my Discord should be somewhat a reflection of where I am, but then there were people in there who kind of didn't like the idea that there would be naughty words said in certain places of Discord. So we set up spicy chat to try and mitigate it and have a space where people could be a bit spicier and a bit more contentious and stuff like that. And, the general flavor of the Discord, I think, changed to some people's dislike, so they ended up leaving. And I'm just a bit like, yeah, I don't know. There's places in my Discord where the rules are pretty hard enforced. And if you break the rules, then yeah, one of the mods, normally Sylph, will catch you and time you out or something, But I just think that, I don't know, man. It's a fucking Discord at the end of the day. I don't know, I find it hard to be that concerned about it. It's just like, well, go into Discord, say your piece. If it really isn't for you, don't stay. The hardest thing of all at the start was people coming into spicy chat and they were complaining about things and wanting it to adapt to them. And it's like, well, that's not what it's about. It was supposed to be a place where like terms of service from Discord are enforced because we have to follow those rules. But beyond that, you can kind of say and do whatever you like, really, Spicy chat sucked. What was the point if you still couldn't say any slurs because it wasn't about saying slurs. That wasn't the point of spicy chat, okay? And that's why we get these problems. People think it's, you can just say what. No. We still follow Discord TOS, right? The basic point was that it was a space where it wasn't quite as heavily moderated and stuff like that. But yeah, the people that post there regularly seem to like it. But yeah, I feel like my Discord is in a pretty good place now. We probably went to a point where there wasn't quite enough moderation, but now we've got a few more moderators. I don't know, seems to be going pretty well. I mean, let's be honest, the TOS are a joke. People can do anything in Discord servers, I know, because there are race play Discords. Sure, but in those race play Discords, I would presume that people there have a general understanding that you're not going to report people for putting the hard R. Otherwise, it would ruin the whole point of the Discord, right? But if you report stuff, it can get the Discord banned. Look at Politically Provoked. Politically Provoked got their Discord yeeted. What do you mean, few more moderators? Wasn't there someone else as well? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure someone else got modded too. Maybe that was a meme. I can't remember. I'll be honest with you, right? I love my Discord. I like going in there from time to time and chatting to people, okay? but putting a lot of effort into it in terms of like, you know, oh, I need to make sure everything's just right and the scales are just right. So it's just fucking a waste of time. You're better off just saying, right, there's a couple of mods. If people take it too far, we'll fucking time you out and ban you and stuff. But other than that, do what you want. And it seems to be working okay now. I don't know. Anyway, I'm kind of sensitive to the discussion about this stuff because of what's happened with my Discord. Do you know what I mean? And so I just find it a bit frustrating. And I just find it a bit frustrating when people try and like manipulate a space to be how they want it to be, you know? And I think the reality is you need to have a level, you need to understand that there's going to be times when stuff is said that you're probably not going to like and probably going to find distasteful or something like that. And, you know, try and manage it as best you can.
Because we have this conversation, we have all this idea about what you think a trans person is based off of sort of broad stereotypes and assumptions, but then there's the reality of what an actual trans person is like, in the same regards that like you have ideas about what Jewish people are, but if you actually have conversations with Jewish people, it's going to be a different experience. So if you create an environment where you can have that dialogue, it does just by sheer numbers and likelihood create the more of an opportunity to learn and understand than if you're.
You can also create that environment without having an environment where Nazis can have a dialogue.
Well, yes, but Nazis need to understand why they're dumb fucks, right? So, like, if we want to help Nazis understand why they're being stupidity heads, then we need to first and foremost.
Is that the technical?
No, I don't think being a Nazi savior is something you just take up as a hobby.
I'm not saying anything about being a Nazi savior. I left the Catholic Church for a reason.
I want to redirect this. This is getting way off. It's
like,
going in circles.
As far as like framing it so it could be a fucking better argument for Dooby, no, I'm not doing it. I'm literally trying to get like what is the objective of fucking Dooby's server, not trying to make him sound like this good guy or anything.
I'm gonna be real with you, right? I don't care about his server right now. I'm curious. A lot of people have made accusations that he is a fascist. And I want that to be the center, right?
Base,
like,
bring it back on track, Wick.
I think when your definition of equality involves including Nazis, that sounds like something a fascist would also sympathize with.
I thought this would be like questioning, like, say more so Wick and involvement, and like I thought this was like a call in about like.
Wait, what?
If you want to talk about me, right? You may, but
Wick.
But you might go to the void.
No, you're fine. But no, you can criticize me directly, sure. But right now, we did change it a little bit because Dooby came in and did a lot of accusations towards Dooby, and so we made that the focus.
All right, so I have one real quick. Wick, I felt like when you did that Kanye panel, it was kind of like, did you get any did you reach out to any like black people at all? Did you like try to? Because you just had a fucking group of white guys.
Okay, so Dooby, you remember Dooby who was on earlier? I reached out to him, but he was busy.
Okay, what about like what about anybody else? Like just Dooby or?
No, just him, pretty much. But I only needed one spot at that time, and I basically shotgunned it.
Wait. Okay, why would you need a black person on there? I thought, because the whole point was, it was about Jewish people. Like, the whole point of it was about anti-Semitism. Was there like a specific reason? It just because what? Because Kanye West is black, or because it's represent? I don't know. Do we need to? Are we doing the thing where it's like, right, we need to have this percent black, this percent this percent that for every fucking panel now? Get Jesse Jackson down here. Get Jesse Jackson down a Twitch poll. Come on.
To a bunch of people, and I think it was Kevin Logan answered first.
So
Kevin Logan on.
I would say like we've talked about this in like the DMs about like how representation like matters, and how like if we don't have anybody of a certain group on when we discuss these issues, it'll make us look it'll make you look bad, right? I think Portland is getting like the gist of that, right? Because he read a study and people called him out for that.
No, yeah, Paulie called him racist earlier.
And I mean, it's not the only fucking person. I heard Chud Logic called him racist too.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna say that's not a fair characterization of Portland is burning. He's not.
Yeah, listen, if Chud Logic, the man who did digital blackface, is calling you fucking racist, and I don't know, like,
he's
what the fuck?
He's doing it for the memes.
Wait, who did I call racist?
So I think I implied.
Did I call someone racist? I can't remember that. My reputation precedes me. I don't think. Did I? I don't think I called him racist. Oh, you called Dooby racist? Or Portland is burning? I don't know, man. Anyway, my contention with Portland is burning was... And the thing is like, you know, you don't need an individual black person to fucking have this discussion, right? you know, here's the thing, okay? He was making this claim that in the black community, in regards to like Ye's popularity, now an individual black person might be able to give their own personal insight as a black person into what that looks like. But there was some polling that had come out a couple of days before that didn't really back up what Portland is Burning was saying. And that actually, even amongst the black community, there seemed to be a broad rejection of like what Ye was saying based on the fact, you know, based on the data that was being presented there, you know? But I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, you know, I would be averse to having like a black person on. If you want to get a black person on, fine. But at what point does it become tokenism? At what point does it become like diversity hire type shit? At what point does it become fucking affirmative action for a panel where you're like, oh, we need to squeeze a black person in there too? You know, sure, maybe Wick could have made more of an effort, I guess, to get a black person on. I don't know. But then, I don't know. Like, why? I thought it was mainly the anti-Semitism we were talking about. It just feels like, because it was about anti-Semitism, I think it's pretty reasonable. Yeah, we probably should have a Jewish person on there because, you know, it is about that topic. I think that's fairly reasonable. But, like, if we then got to get every other minority on, like, if we're going to have to get a black person on, okay, what about an Asian person? Okay, what about a fucking, I don't know, what other minorities are there? Trans person, I guess? We've got to get that on too? Like, do you know what I mean? It just gets to the point where it's like, well, if you're hosting a 6-person panel, it starts to become a little bit fucking tricky to actually represent every possible race and every identity going, because there's only fucking 6 people on there. Do we need to get a Muslim on as well or some shit? I don't fucking know, man.
I think I called him a racist too on the panel, but I don't. I was actually just joking. I thought it was clear that I was joking. I don't think he's a racist. I think he just expresses his position clumsily, which happens sometimes.
Okay, so, I wanted to let Chris, because Chris said he had something for me, so I want to let Chris go.
More, not so more like criticism, but like I just want to know like a clear like goal of what you want to do with these, what you want to do with this platform.
So for me,
like, yeah, so because yeah, for me, like on the outside looking in, it's more of like these conversations are fun. So people are like different groups of people who join in and like argue together. It creates interesting dialogue, and it's like clear entertainment value, and I understand that. I get that, right? I'm like, I try to stay away from these spaces, but like something in me just wants to come back and keep arguing with these people. But I have to get over myself with what I want these spaces to be, because I can't make that happen, right? It's these are not my spaces, right? Yeah.
If I may, like, just very briefly, right? I'll give this spiel, right? So again, I'm not here to de-radicalize everyone. Like, it's not a dedicated to radicalization space. But what I am trying to do is provide a space where people can have their beliefs challenged. Diversity of thought is the diversity that I'm looking for most of all here. I want people to come away and hear a wide variety of opinions on a topic. Some they may not have taken seriously before, and hear people who will argue them effectively. And I want them to challenge their ideas, and entertainment is a part of it. If it's fun, great. I hope it is, right? And if I can make some money, I hope I do. And speaking of which, give me money, because this is annoying, and I want money, gang. So give me goddamn money if you want me to keep going. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, and like I think we're gonna keep getting these like people complaining about it. And like I understand Nine Tails' complaints and their wants for the space. I just like we do this run over and over this topic over and over again.
True.
And I just want people to realize, like, yeah, you want a safe community. This can't happen in these types of spaces with these types of goals. That just you're gonna run into people who are gonna come in who are fucking shitters or who are fucking evil people that you're gonna have to like deal with having to kick. If you want to have these type of spaces, that's what you're just gonna have to deal with. And no matter what, no matter how much we like criticize,
it's almost like people want everything, right? Unfortunately, the reality is you don't get to do the fucking safe space kind of memes and shit, and also get all this like viewership and all this stuff. It's like people see the viewership that you get from having contention, from having controversial people on, and all of this stuff. And it's like they desire that, but without doing the things that are required to get to that level. Like, the reality of it is that you aren't going to have lots and lots of viewers on your fucking, you know, safe space soy panel. Like, people just don't give a shit. People aren't going to watch it, you know? I've seen plenty of content and heard about plenty of content where it is a bit like, oh, let's go sit in a circle and go around giving our take one by one, which more or less agrees with each other. But people don't want to fucking watch that shit. You know, people don't want to fucking watch that kind of boring shit. A bunch of Humegalols talking about Marx or something. People just don't care. So the unfortunate reality is this person, what they're saying is pretty correct. I agree with it. It's like, you know, if it is content and entertainment, you're not going to have the kind of safety aspect of it in the same way. You know, if you want to have the safe space and have your feelings protected a bit and stuff, which I'm not, listen, I'm genuinely not saying that as a negative thing. I appreciate that, you know, some people want to have the place where they can go and their identity is validated and their identity is respected and they don't have to worry about these things and they don't have to hear these. That's fine if you want that. I'm not having to go at you for that. I'm just saying that you're probably going to have to go to one of the streamers where that is kind of the vibe. Like, say, Lumiru is a good example of this, you know? Lumiru is someone who will provide that for you. You know, and they have a show and they get, you know, a stream and they get 100 plus viewers, and you can just have a kind of nice vibe and a cozy space and stuff like that. Not cozy as in that cozy, but cozy as in the literal word cozy. But if you want to have the big viewership, you got to have the big contention. You got to have the blood sports. You got to have the fighting. You got to have the, you know, maybe borderline bigotry through the more explicit bigotry. You know. But yeah, I really like Lumiru. I think Lumiru's doing something great with their channel. It's just that isn't going to be the model that's going to work. If you need a calm, safe space to coddle you, I hear Karantos is streaming. Oh. But yeah, I don't know. I just, you know, as much as I'm enjoying it from a nostalgia perspective, I feel like, you know, this is a conversation we've had a lot of times before. We've done this. We've been there. We've done that. We've got the t-shirt. And it seems like we're having a renaissance of it. I guess we'll just see what happens with it. But yeah.
Dooby, or like say he's evil, which the space he runs is like very evil. It's fucking terrible, and I wouldn't recommend anyone go into it. But like, it is what it is. We like, I understand this now, right? I'm gonna criticize and I'm gonna fucking like go off on any one of these people who come in with some like shit views, but that's about as much as I can do. And other than that, if I need to, I'll influence and like tell people who I think aren't safe in spaces not to come here, right? I'll do what I can to make sure they know these aren't safe spaces to be in, to like have like the type of conversations they want. So I think if you don't like the way these spaces are run, you should take take yourself elsewhere and take the people you think aren't safe in these spaces.
So how many spaces do I have to start forming friends in before Dooby shows up, and then I can no longer go there?
And before we address that, Nire Socks, change my...
Okay, well, what is it exactly that is happening in Wix server that's so bad? Like, what is Dooby like always? I mean, Dooby is in my server, and he seldomly posts in there. When he does, he talks for a bit and then goes. But it's not as if he's there. Like, you could be in my server, and I like never know that Dooby's even there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Dooby's actually one of the least toxic people in my server.
Thank you both for the gift subs. If we get one more individual gift subber, we can get... Oh, we just did hype train, so give me money, gang. But to address... I agree with you. I agree with you, Chris. Like, if someone is legitimately does not feel safe, or if they are extra sensitive... Like, my space is... I said this earlier. My space is not for everyone. It's for anyone. Anyone who wants to and who likes this kind of stuff can come in, and they are free, right? But not everyone's going to want to, and that's okay, because it's good to have a wide variety of different spaces, right? We can agree on that. Like, we need spaces that are safe, right? And we need spaces that are unsafe.
They're not even people. They are subhuman creatures.
Okay.
It's not a matter of sensitivity. It's just a matter of experience that a lot of people who enter your space aren't warned that, hey, if you make friends here, you might also get pushed away once like these characters show up, because there is no real way to warn people of that. And it's usually a very upsetting thing. It's not actually your server that's happening. It's happened to me in another server already, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way about being in another space too, where I just...
Okay, I thought that was some sort of TTS thing. Wick, turn that fucking thing off. I don't know what it is. Is it someone subscribing? Turn that shit off, mate. What the fuck is your problem? Like, what is it with people and these fucking ridiculous notifications? There was that one person, do you remember when Destiny was watching that one person and their follow notification was about fucking 5 minutes long and people kept following? And then they were struggling to turn it off and they were like, oh, I'm getting raided, No, people are just following you and you've got some stupid long notification on it. Turn that shit off. Yeah, the Metal Gear Solid 5 thing or something it was, yeah. So stupid. Turn that shit off immediately.
It's like, it gets to a point where I just couldn't be there, right? And that's okay, right? And I influence other people, or I try to like talk to
Can
people.
you also admit for Dooby to say that he has no responsibility is ridiculous?
I can't do anything about that. Right?
No, for him to say he has no responsibility. No,
it is
Cosmic, I'm not asking you to do anything, Cosmic. I'm just asking you, is it ridiculous to say that he has no responsibility for his impact on
Yes,
the state?
it is, but I don't care at this
Thank you.
point, right?
That's all.
It is ridiculous, but I don't care, right?
Based.
Dooby's Dooby.
I'm not asking you to care. I'm really not.
Can
Okay.
I
Dooby
ask
has a
a
question.
So I'm just trying to figure out like what the line of this like the standard is, because someone that I had like a pretty brief like connection to is Brittany from Politically Provoked. We actually set up a like a space on the server for them, like on the Discord server, for them to set up their debates, because their Discord server kept getting deleted. And I offered like, hey, why don't I? So it seems like Discord doesn't like you. Why don't I just give you space on my server so you can set up your debates here, and that's it. But it was pretty quickly we came to realize that like her community is actually full of like full-on Nazis, and unfortunately, Discord would not allow Nazis on the platform. They used to, but after Charlottesville, they stopped. So I can't allow Nazis on my server, not openly anyway. And to be clear, I wish I could, like, to be super clear about that, because I like arguing with the Nazis. It's really funny. So we had to get rid of her channel, get her little group off the server, just because it was too risky. Discord TOS, all that shit. But Ninetales, you've been on her panels a lot, right? In her community, I think it's full of Nazis. So would you apply the same standard that you're applying to yourself? Would you say that it's possible for you to go into communities right now?
I do,
have,
in
like,
fact.
So you don't enter other communities?
Well, no. When I go on her community, I make sure my community is isolated from that, so I don't promote myself on her community. I absolutely refuse to do that. And
Wait, what? So when I do it, it's okay. When I actively go into a fucking den of Nazis, it's different and my community is protected. Give me a fucking break. What is this absolute fucking bullshit? What is this copium I'm hearing right now? Well, when I do it, it's different. Come on. You're literally going into a pit of vipers. And then you're like, fuck. Oh, it's okay. I'm protecting my community from the vipers.
The last time I streamed anything was the Bryce and Gray thing, because I figured some people would want to see that. But the pop-ons I've been in have all been private. Nobody's seen that I've been on there except for Brittany's server. And I honestly, it's a trade-off for me, because I don't like the fact that she seems to make money from the hate donations.
Well, I mean, hold on, but it's not difficult for people to find you, right, if they want to. So if
they're not going to find
Nazis,
they're not going to find me on Politically Provoked through there, and vice versa.
I mean those Nazis.
And vice versa.
Server to find you.
Vice versa, like my community is not an easy to access place, especially not an easy place to get into and then start saying the wrong stuff. I'm very critical of anybody in any of my spaces, to the point where I'm very unfriendly for a reason, because if you're saying things that seem to me like off, then I'm going to push that. I'm going to question it. So unlike you, who's more like a passive actor and all this, I'm a very active person, and I'm aware of what I'm doing. So I'm making sure that I catch any threat. It's called vigilance.
But you're not.
I also do consider myself accountable for anything that happens.
All right. But you're not criticizing me for going.
What is this fucking take? Literal just. It's okay when I do it because I'm vigilant. Okay. All right. Okay then. Well, there we go. Problem solved.
Into your community, you're criticizing me for coming to like Wix community, for example. And you're into your Wix community. What's to
well,
stop
at this
some
point,
of
I'm
those
criticizing
Nazis
you for having no
from-
sense of accountability.
Well,
Like, are you a child?
Because it seems like you haven't. If you're here, right, in this community, there is.
Oh no. This is Ninetales Cosmic Fox. This is the person who had a debate with Dylan, and Ninetales Cosmic Fox claimed that she couldn't get on Dylan's panel because she's trans. And Dylan just basically said, well, you just weren't particularly a good person to have on. We didn't feel you were ready for the main show. The other person you're thinking of is Tale of Two Rabbits. I think that's their name. Something to do with rabbits anyway. That was Lance's debate partner for the Lauren Southern Counterpoints debate. And I think they still make content and they skulk around the kind of like, kind of like uwu lefty type of communities. But I think after that happened, they kind of don't really show themselves around that much anymore. Pull up her stream metrics. Why? Why would I do, like, look, It's not. I haven't got any reason to. Okay, like if it's not as used, that's irrelevant in this conversation. Okay, if it was relevant, I might talk about it. But extreme relevance are extra irrelevant. The reason I brought them up before when I spoke about her is because I can't remember what she was saying, but it was to point out that the reason she wasn't succeeding was because she didn't do enough work. That's the point I was making there. How is it relevant? What's the relevance? It doesn't matter. For God's sake, just chill out. I'm going to have to cut that. Listen, I don't like bringing people's stream metrics up for any other reason than to prove a point or to point something out, okay? I don't like doing it just for the hell of it, okay? If someone was talking about a topic, I wouldn't just bring up their stream metrics and go, oh, that's rich coming from you, 3-viewer Andy. Like, what's the point of that?
There's some chance that some of those Nazis from Politically Provoked who found out who you are, who hate you, might come here and interact with Wix community in a way that's negative. Right. So
my Twitter, by the way, my Twitter, which is searchable, my Twitter is not one of those places. Because I don't have a community on Twitter. I just use that to put my thoughts out there. To be honest, my Discord though, I've only given Discord links to people in the server who I've had direct interactions with and who I trust.
Right, but you're here on Wix, in Wix community right now.
So it's the literal exact opposite of you, Dooby. It's the literal exact opposite. It can't get more polar opposite.
Okay, so again, you're not criticizing me for going into your community. I haven't been in your community.
You're right. I'm criticizing you for having no sense of accountability for your actions.
Okay, so I'm in Wix community.
Grow up.
And I understand that some of the Nazis or whatever from my server might come here because I'm here. So what is to stop the people who hate you, who saw you on Politically Provoked, who now
I'm the one who stops it because I take accountability and I'm vigilant about it. I'm the one who stops it.
But how do you keep them from coming to this space against your will?
This space, the server, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, then why is it okay?
Is the person point that she takes certain steps or Dooby his hands off and has zero responsibility in what happens? My understanding is that Dooby's politics Discord is fairly robustly moderated. And yes, there's topics I'm sure people would be upset by in there. But like, it's a bit more permissive of certain types of people, sure. But then is that, you know, like, I just think the difference here is that obviously Ninetales is going to see people as a lot more extreme and worthy of bans than probably Dooby is, I'd presume.
Okay for you to be here, but it's not okay for me to be here.
Because again, I don't let anybody who I meet here, who I don't get to know over a while, into my space, and they're going to be more. So there are layers to which people just don't get in there. I have to basically feel like I know them a bit, which is a big thing.
They don't need your permission to hop into Wix Discord server because you're here.
Okay, I wanna give.
You can claim it's equivocal, but I think you're reaching, and these are mental gymnastics.
Tuna has to go. Tuna, thanks for trying. So
no, it's fine. I think that something that's being missed here by both partially Doob and Ninetales. This is entertainment. I do not think that if Doob is a fascist or a Nazi, that if he's just online, not doing hate crimes, not doing Nazism, that it's the same thing. So when we take it very seriously, we talk about radicalization. Honestly, the most de-radicalized that person can be is become a basement-dwelling Discord user. So in the end, it might be a de-radicalization.
Great point.
Thank you. Nazis are entertainment. Nazis are entertainment, and
the producers. It's
actually a good point.
Mel Brooks, the producers, it's a whole ass movie about how entertaining Nazis are. The first person who was saying in the entertainment space
that is actually a really good point, and I think this speaks to the point that I make as well, which is the idea that what are you actually doing? People act like people posting on fucking Discord are like doing some sort of like radical action. It's like, no, it's fucking not. It's just the same as this Twitter activism that you see. Oh, I tweeted out and said that someone should lose their sponsorship. So I did an activism thing. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Do we make fun of Nazis? Mel Brooks said,
do you think people can criticize that for being irresponsible in its handling? Or do you think because it's entertainment, everybody has their hands clean just magically?
I think that it definitely, you should be looking at the pieces of media on a case-by-case basis. But if you're going to look at Mel Brooks as the producers, even the 1960s version, the whole point and the premise behind it was Mel Brooks said, I fought Nazis in World War II, so I'm a Jew. I get to make fun of them.
It's a real example of satire, unlike Discord, which is not real satire.
Well, I mean,
just stop.
Media changes. That's all.
Stop. We can have real Discord on we can have real satire, real Discord on satire. Real satire.
Yeah, but it's clearly not going to be responsible with Dooby around.
I wanted to give a chance to what's your name? Ethanos?
Hi guys. So my name's Ethanos.
Hello.
It's like Thanos, like Ethan and Thanos. Ethanos. Okay. This one right here is called Wonderwall.
Nope. Okay, come on, weaponized discourse. Nope, there's not the time for that. Okay.
The fuck was
Come
that?
on, Oasis.
Funny.
90s.
Good job. Jesus Christ.
No, I like grunge better.
What was that?
I like grunge more, so
We can all like convene on that. Gang, we are winding down a little bit. This has been wonderful, but unless I get a huge amount of
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
I wanted to ask Ninetales something because like Dooby hit on something, and I think she should have really like Dooby is like dodging responsibility, and it's whatever he wants to do that. That's his like his choice. But Ninetales like jumping into politically provokes like space and like acting like people won't follow her from there into other spaces. Like that's kind of hypocritical. Like and politically provoked spaces like that space is fucking terrible.
Like, listen, if you go into politically provoked and all that stuff as like a trans person, okay, you are putting a big fucking target on your back from like Kiwi Farms and all those fuckers, okay? You just are. So the idea that you can do that and just play it safe is fucking insanity, okay? Because when you start mixing with those kinds of people, the worst people on the internet, will start to pay attention to you and start to shit on you and stuff like that. Now, some people will do it, and fair play to you if you want to do that, but you don't get to do it and then criticize others and like, oh, what about your community or something like that. When you are welcoming far more fucking shit on yourself by doing that than by Dooby being in Wix Discord. You are going to get far more shit and far more attention and far more risks from going on a single, like, politically provoked panel, which is on Cozy TV, by the way, than you are by being in a Discord server that Dooby's also in and being in Wix server. Well, no, stop blaming the victim. If you do it, I obviously think it's bad, but if you do it, you know, that's fine if you accept the risks. But chastising others whilst doing that yourself and doing what I consider to be mental gymnastics of trying to justify it is insane. Yeah, me clueless. Today I think I'll enter the kill stream orbit and leave with my hands clean and mind intact. You're absolutely delusional. You're delusional if you think you can just hop on to fucking politically provoked. Do you know what I mean? And look, I respect people that want to do that. If you want to do that and get your hands dirty and stuff like that, that's fine. But you can't claim that your hands are clean. Like, no, you're filthy. You're covered in mud because you got into the mud willingly.
Terrible too. Even worse, like no one in that space is like unaware of where they are. They know what they're there for. So I don't know. Like like if you're gonna criticize Dooby for doing this thing, which I do, I think it's wrong. But like it's what it is. What it is. Like you have to hold yourself responsible too. I don't think like anyone should be going in that space at all. Because you do like it's unavoidable to be dragging people from that space. They come through all the time and they have to be banned all the time. Fucking Britney spaces are like a fucking cancer that will never go away.
Can I ask you guys a question though? Because and this is also broadly like extended to the chat to basically everyone because this conversation it definitely seems to be very common online.
You're arguing with Viv,
on the spaces
based
occupy. It does seem to be like a very frequent thing happening currently, but it does make me sort of curious because it reminds me of a conversation that I had in real life a couple of years ago at when I used to work at Starbucks, and I was a supervisor there, and I remember sort of when like a lot of the political sentiment started to change, people were asking like, if a Nazi comes into the store like as a Starbucks employee, do you still have to like just serve them the coffee like whatever the coffee is they want or like whatever their order is? And like the conversation was really sort of mixed at my store on this because certain people were like, well, if he's just going to pay, if they're just going to pay for their coffee and get out, like as long as they don't say anything that is explicitly anti-Semitic, like they're a customer like everybody else, don't they deserve to
still? Can I ask a question on that? Like how would they know? Are we talking about something?
Wait, hang on a second. So hang on a fucking minute though. Wait. Hang on a fucking minute. What this is giving me flashbacks to the gay cake discourse. The gay cake discourse is coming up in my mind there. My understanding with the gay cake discourse was that a shop owner is able to refuse to make a cake for someone because it's considered an artistic expression. But they have to provide the ability to buy a cake off the rack, off the shelf.
How do I
right?
make money off depressed people?
As the great Michael Jordan once said, Republicans also buy shoes.
Thank you very much for the full 20. But you can't refuse service outright just on the basis of that. But you can refuse to make a specific cake for them. Making a cake is art. No. Not just making a cake, but decorating a cake. Like, actually decorating a cake is considered artistic expression, yes. like a custom cake. Anyway, it's not quite the same. I just thought it just gave me a flashback to that. I guess the issue... Okay, so I guess here's the issue. So here's the thing with it, right? I think that a company should be able to refuse service for any reason at any time. You know, I think that there should be legislation in place that prevents you from doing it just on the basis of some immutable characteristic or whatever identity thing. That's fair enough. I guess the issue actually is, what, like, do we do it on political affiliation and political views? Also, how would you know they're a Nazi? Are we talking about someone coming in like a uniform or like with a swastika tattoo or something? Can a cake shop refuse to make a cake for a Redditor? Well, my understanding, based on the Supreme Court ruling, I mean, I'm not 100%, I'm not a legal expert, but I'm fairly certain that if a Redditor came in and said, I want a Reddit-themed cake, I want you to decorate a Reddit-themed cake specifically for my wedding, I think they could refuse service. I believe that is the case. But then I guess being a Redditor isn't considered to be one of the protected characteristics, right? Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if a Nazi comes into your Starbucks, I think confronting them is probably a bad idea. I think what you're better off doing, as long as they're not spouting off Nazi shit in your store, you're better off just making them their coffee and sending them on their way. I think what someone is saying in chat is right, is that confronting them and stuff is just going to cause a scene. You're better off just quietly serving them and getting them out and on their way. Oh, hey, Hydra, how's it going? I think what we should do with Redditors, if you've got over a certain amount of karma, they should have the Reddit logo branded into their forehead. And so everywhere they go, you can see they're a Redditor, and they get dealt with accordingly. Anyway, guys, come on. Give me some money! I know technically I've only just started by normal standards, but I've been streaming for over 2 hours now. Hook me up. Send me some bits. Send me some subs. Send me some tips. Straight up fair to refuse service, but oh my god, really, the customer's personal life is not my concern. I don't want chaos and rudeness. Let them get the stuff and pay. Stores don't want their workers confronting petty criminals. You think they want to confront Nazis? She's doubling down. I made a mistake. Saying Dooby is the Pied Piper of Nazi was an understatement. He's actively trying to inoculate society from any opposition to Nazis, to the point where defending their existence against Nazis is a blood sport in his Colosseum. What no comment... Yeah. Referencing no comment chick. That's a surefire way to know your argument is on track. 100%. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, so like I asked, like, how would you determine and how would you be able to actually tell if the person is Nazi? But it opened up this really interesting conversation, because I think it does kind of connect to what we're saying, is that, like, for the same reason in real life, it's difficult to tell, like, if that person is actually a Nazi or not, if they're just coming into the store and they're just going to, like, buy the thing and leave. I extend that question to you guys on Discord and these other digital platforms. Like, would you, if you were that barista, would you not serve that person that you believe is a Nazi? Why or why not? Because, like, I feel like everyone clearly has their own opinion on this, and that's why everybody's kind of like going back and forth on both sides.
Look, if you walk in covered in swastikas and stuff, like, I'm kicking you out my fucking store. That's just me.
Even if but they're not saying, like, because I think the conversation, remember we said, it was like, if they have it on a t-shirt but they're not making any direct comment to their t-shirt, that, like, in the same way that, like, I'm sure there's some Star Wars fans that are really pissed at me right now for wearing this shirt, but I'm not saying that Star Trek is better, even though it is. I'm just
substantive difference. No, come on, man, that's ridiculous.
But in the same question though, like, if somebody just wants to sort of interact with the world and they have a difference of opinion, are we always going to be quick to push them away, or are we just going to kind of wait until they do the crazy thing and then push them away?
Yeah.
Like, so for example, well, I was just gonna maybe send like direct comparison to like Star Trek and Star Wars, but you can look at like a religious worldview, like Islam, okay, or like deeply,
hey,
like, Christian
sick.
Catholic people. They're very very terrible opinions on like LGBT people, women's like roles, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Like opinions that I think are like abhorrent. Right. So if a devout Muslim comes into my shop, I can understand that he probably holds terrible opinions on things, right? But he's still just a dude. I think people are entitled to their terrible opinions as long as they're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, no, I'm curious because I think people have very different areas.
Actually, that's an interesting point, right? If there was like a Muslim family that came in and the woman was in like a burqa and the guy was, you could just by looking at him tell, and maybe you heard him say something that was a bit homophobic, and you could tell because conservative Muslims have got some pretty bad fucking takes on things from a progressive perspective. Does that mean you should like do something about that? But then I guess because they're brown, maybe they're brown, maybe that might be like an issue as well. I don't know. I guess a bit complicated, doesn't it? What if a black Nazi comes in? What if a black separatist comes in that's also hates Jewish people? What about that?
Is in the sand that they draw with that one, because I have my beliefs, but other people see it completely different.
I wanted to allow space to our new person.
Hello,
Sick.
how are you?
Is that how you say Sick?
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Okay, Sick. What criticisms do you have of Dooby here? Come on, make them good.
Oh, okay. So I've not been listening to the stream because I was on my phone before. I don't know how often you platform Nazis, but if you don't do it very often or at all, you probably should, because it sounds like a lot of your chat and a lot of the people who come on, like Polly, don't actually know how to recognize what an actual Nazi is.
Oh well, teach us, Padawan. How do we recognize an actual Nazi, and why should I platform them?
It sounds like people minimize Nazi down to bigotry and down to transphobia, down to racism and stuff like that. Nazism has elements of fascism and nationalism, and they're very exclusionary in the sense that somebody might view transphobia or maybe racism and stuff like that. But the methods by which they participate are much more sinister than saying an offhanded joke or saying some offensive comments on Twitter. It sounds like everybody's just way too fucking soy, and they need to grow a pair.
Chris, do you want to deal with this one? Come on, Cosmo.
This is dumb. Like, you don't need to have to have Nazis in the space and know what they are, and we know why individuals like Ninetales and others use the word the way they do, even when a lot of times someone's not fully.
Hey, it's Hydra as well. Let's
go. They are trying to provoke a response out of people to get certain.
No, they're saying Nazi because people don't give a good representation of what a Nazi fucking is.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's a cop out. It's like super fucking weak. We all know what Nazis are. Like we've all look. I don't know. I don't know how. I
disagree with that. I disagree with that. I mean, the fact Dooby's getting called a Nazi would suggest that. And the other thing as well is like there are lots of far right ideologies as well that aren't Nazi. That aren't Nazi at all. They're nothing to do with fucking Nazi shit. In fact, in some ways, they're the opposite of some of the core principles of what like a Nazi would believe. Like if you look at like the Boogaloo Boys, or you look at like the Oath Keepers and these kinds of people, they're not Nazis. They're like hardline libertarians, but they're still dangerous. In fact, I'd say in some cases even more dangerous. The Oath Keepers, some of them are being prosecuted for, seditious treason or some shit like that. But the point is, whatever the fucking thing is, but the point is some of these groups have got an actual, like they're a threat to like society because they're so anti-government that they're willing to actually act on that and engage in violent action against like the federal government and stuff like that, Like fucking Ruby Ridge and all that shit. And they're nothing to do with Nazis. They're like, they don't even think the same things that Nazis do in terms of like fundamental core beliefs of their ideology. So I think the other problem you've got too is by calling everyone on the far right a Nazi, you get to the point where you don't understand it and can't differentiate what these different groups are to understand what the different risks are, And at the end of the day, what's more of a risk? Some shitlord in a Discord posting about the Jews, or some fucking fella who's got some camp with a bunch of rightoid nutters with a bunch of guns that hate the federal government? Like, which is more of a fucking risk? Some loser sat in their basement posting about fucking George Soros, or some fellas in some fucking forest somewhere in West Virginia, preparing for the next fucking war or whatever against. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a danger that exists that people miss because they think Nazi, 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 and you fail to see what the true risks of that group or that movement are. I don't know. That's what I think, anyway.
you've known some like a lot of these streamers for a long time, like Ninetales knows what a Nazi is. She spends time with them. She just admitted it in politically provoked space. Like she knows who they are, right? But Ninetales as a person is a provocative person who uses this terminology like in this language purposefully to like cause a response to get people to act in the way they want or need people to act, right? And a lot of times, right, all you need to do is click like 2 or 3 boxes for them to like call you a Nazi. I don't think that's like necessarily correct and what they should be doing, but I understand why they're doing it, right? So like we can't like stop using this idea that no one knows what Nazis are, so we should have them around so we can get a better understanding with them. This is such bullshit. Like we don't have all sorts of Nazi fucking literature floating around, or like movies and things. Like you'd see the ideology like throughout history. Like this has been a part of our culture. Like,
and in fact, this is actually an interesting point of this in regards to Twitch poll. Even you can link it back to Twitch poll. Who remembers Suspect Sushi? Who remembers Suspect Sushi? Right, Suspect Sushi came on panels and stuff like that, and then became like a Proud Boy and got closer with that movement. He was at January 6th. He ended up being at January 6th, right? And all these fucking idiots started soying out about it in regards to Twitch poll, despite the fact that Twitch poll was literally nothing to do with the fact that he was at January 6th. Obviously, his connection to the Proud Boys, which came about independently of Twitch poll, was the reason that he was at January 6th, right? But then after that, there was this kind of like, it was like this the idea then that hosting him further would be bad. Well, would it not be interesting to maybe get someone like that on? And understand that, like, hey, what's this guy all about then? Why did you get a January 6th? What's your thought process there? And actually get a bit of a flavour of what's going on there. But no, apparently just to have him on because he'd committed this, you know, thing was too bad. And it's just like, it's just so stupid to me. What does it fucking matter? I think I don't want to misspeak on this. I think he went into the building. Anyway, a lot of this is all also rooted in a really, like a fundamentally what I consider retarded view of the world. All of this is in the way that people get radicalized is just by hearing things and listening to things. And the reason that this mistake, and it's not, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it than just listening and hearing to things, you know? It's people's circumstances that lead them to, say, radicalization or something like that, right? So, for example, if you look at, say, Islamist radicalization, you could have two different people listen to the same material, like ISIS material, and have different outcomes because it isn't solely just based on them hearing the stuff that ends up in that outcome. There's a whole other bunch of fucking shit that goes into someone being radicalized, you know? And I just think that there's this mentality that, oh, if someone hears the wrong idea on a Twitch poll panel, they're going to be radicalized. Oh, no. And it's just so fucking stupid. Progressive don't know the difference between radical Islam and Islam. Maybe not. I'm not an expert on it, but I've, you know, back from my atheist days. We need the edgelord atheists back.
Every part of media, we've had like things discussing what Nazis are. We've had them in our faces for so fucking long. We all know what they are. You go through school, primary school, like learning about this shit. Like this isn't hard. I don't like this. This is such a big fucking cop out. Just because
it's not a cop out.
Just because you get called a Nazi by some rando on fucking Discord one time doesn't mean much of any fucking thing. It doesn't.
Well, that's exactly it. That's the problem. Is it doesn't mean anything. Like it's
because it's fucking no matter what most people say on this shit, it doesn't mean much of anything because it can't affect you in your real life mostly, unless you're being harassed or some shit or like actual harm being done to you. But like. This isn't necessary.
Then isn't it a bit of a pointless and needless conversation to sit here and talk about something that isn't actually that much of a problem? It's only really a problem if you occupy certain spaces and you stay in certain echo chambers. But like you're saying, to that point, if we sort of like actually get out into the real world,
it is a problem. It is a problem in these spaces, but is it enough of a problem to where you want to deal with it, right? And for me, like it's a problem, but like I understand the problem, and what I can do is just come in here and shit on these people.
I'm sorry, but this whole thing. The problem is is that we know what a Nazi is. We see Holocaust history. We understand that. But the issue is that we broaden the scope of what a Nazi is so much that it includes so many people that are not Nazis. And what happens is when we go on places like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that, the comments about Republicans being Nazis is not ironic. That is what these people think. And they might not think that they're out there genociding Jews or genociding black people or trans people or anything like that. But the issue is that we're taking one really specific definition of a person, of a human being, that really encapsulates maybe thousands of people in this country, and then we're expanding those qualities, individual or maybe just a couple of them, to millions of people in this country, and then we're touching those two concepts with one another, so that way half of the country all of a sudden becomes Nazis. That is the issue. And you're saying, well, no, people know what Nazis are. No, but they call more people Nazis way more than there actually are inside this country.
Of
for
course,
sure.
people do this with all sorts of language. Like they've been doing it with trans people and calling them groomers and shit like that, right? We've had
That's
this.
a different. Those are two different terms.
Housekeeping,
The
guys.
issue
Amanda,
here-
charge till I'm back because I got.
Oh God. Okay, guys. You better be on your best fucking behavior. All right. There's a lady in the house. There's a women. But I mean, at the end of the day, like.
So Water asked the following question: is it against TOS for me to talk about the Holocaust? Well, when you ask it like that, I'm starting to think, well, what is it you want to say about the Holocaust that makes you worry if it's against TOS or not? Oof. Listen, it's whatever to me. But if you say stuff that I'm like, okay, Twitch might have an issue with that, I'll probably have to take action against it because Twitch can fuck you if you don't moderate your chat properly.
Like, come on, guys! If we're gonna be so scared about Nazis, like, aren't I technically a Nazi? So you're already.
My hands are tied.
The way your voice is like overwhelming everything. Yeah, it's pretty fascistic.
I'm pretty fucking Nazi. I mean, like, my mom was a grammar Nazi, so like at the end of the day, like we can all be a Nazi in our own way. We all come to our own fascism in our own opinions.
I've come to the understanding that this is not an academic space. This is more of a space where fucking normies join in and they use like language like normies do. They don't have a full understanding of everything, right?
Hey, listen, who you call it a fucking normie, all right? I've been on the internet since 2003. I had a Yahoo back in the day, I'll have you know.
That's congratulations.
I don't really know if I qualify.
If you want to combat the misusage of the language, you combat the specific people you misuse in the language, right?
Yeah, I think you guys
Nazis to be around to do that. You can just combat those people who you think are misusing it the wrong way, right? And educate them however you think that should be done. But you don't need Hitler to be in the Discord in order for
but I mean, like, you're gonna have kind of like these kind of like anomaly people like me or others who have this kind of like more of a nuanced take. But like if anybody goes in,
I feel like this is the kind of the logical thought process people used to use, and they're kind of just a bit like beaten and like, oh well, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I don't know, man. Look, this is space is what it is. I love it. If you love it too, great. If not, then I don't know. If you want an academic space, go to a fucking university or some shit.
Says like, yeah, my grandpa was like SS. Everybody gets all pissy at that. And so like, how are you gonna have that conversation? There's no space. Like, there's no space to actually have this dialogue, especially on the internet. And if you,
this dialogue has been happening for years. We're in it. Like, what are you talking about?
And none of us can seem to really pinpoint what we consider a Nazi. So I don't really know. But last time I checked,
you can. But like
everybody has a different opinion of what a Nazi is on here. So
no, that's not what's.
Let's go around in the circle then. What's a Nazi?
We're not gonna do that. No, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, no one wants to do that.
Wait, where did she go?
Start with this.
I didn't voice.
Did we just trade one soul for another?
Did you possess Amanda? Have you like co-opted her? Like...
Viv's in here. Let's go.
No, I can't possess anybody.
That's unfortunate.
I'm literally.
Viv is here.
I don't know that I believe.
All my possession energy is like focused on controlling my familiar.
Oh, fair enough. Hopefully Amanda can hop back in. Hopefully whatever happened, I didn't kick her, Greg. I promise. And I wanted her to give, if she needed the space to tell people where can find her, I wanted her to do that. But anyway, carry on, please.
Viv's here. They can give a vivid detail of like what a Nazi is. But like, again, you don't need Nazis in the space to educate people on what they are. If you have an issue with how somebody's using the term, like, deal with that person.
To be fair to Viv, in the past, she has been pretty on the money with this stuff. Because remember, one part of that conversation between Destiny and Vaush was that Viv was pushing back against what Vaush was saying. And criticizing him for calling like George Bush a Nazi or a fascist or something like that it was. So, we'll see. I mean, obviously, Viv and I don't see eye to eye much anymore. She thinks DK's a groiper.
Like confront that person on how they're using it. But like, you don't fucking need Nazis in here for everyone to see what they are, because a lot of them are fucking crypto these days. They're not going to just out and say they're a Nazi, right? Why would they ever fucking do that? Right? They're going to push their ideas and their goals through fucking sly means to where, like, for people who don't really understand it to grab hold of that. Like, they're not going to be just like they're going to like come in like, I'm a Nazi. Like, that's not how they work, right? Some people do. They're going to be trolls and come in and say just like outlandish shit, but that's not all the time. And like, if we just like tell everyone like if we just show everyone like just these the classic face of a Nazi of like, oh, like we said, someone said it like the other night, just goose stepping around, fucking Heil Hitlering, like that's not all they are, and that's just like an old school picture of it. They've evolved heavily, and you don't need them around to have the discussion.
I want to, since Dooby's here, right, and Viv was talking to me yesterday, right, in fact, about how you did everything short of calling Dooby a Nazi. So I want to have him have a chance to address any accusations you may have against him.
Do you? Okay.
I do.
I mean,
so go ahead.
I don't really have much to say to Dooby at all. I don't think having conversations with Dooby is particularly productive or has a point to it.
Ooh, throwing shade straight away at Dooby.
Tell you the truth. He'll tell you something, tell somebody else something else. You know, that's just how it works. I also didn't say.
So you're just going to discredit him just off the rope. Like
sorry, who's that?
Hi,
I'm sorry, I have no idea who the fuck you are. Who are you?
I'm a human being. What's up?
Okay, cool. Great.
That's a pretty based response. Getting Humegalold, I'm just a human being. I like that. That's good. Why the fuck is she Humegaloling Hydra? That just seems so unnecessary. Do you think it's because it sounded like DK? Yeah, Hobbs to a comment about Dooby. I don't want to talk to Dooby. Hydra just says, oh, so you're just going to discredit him like that? Who the fuck are you? Who are you? Fuck me. Jesus Christ.
I didn't call Dooby a Nazi. What I said was was that like he acts exactly the way that I would expect like a fascist to act in this space, right? Like it doesn't really matter what Dooby's personal fucking ideology is. His entire career in the Twitch politics space and arguably in politics in general has been to like funnel further right-wing people, especially into the Twitch space, right? Further right-wing and reactionary people into the space.
There are Hydra's on the list now.
It's because Twitch streamers. Listen,
she might have Humegalogy there, but you're now on the list.
Want to have some people to push back against, and we want to have these interesting discussions or whatever. It really doesn't matter. If you're a fascist in the online space at the moment, your primary objective is to like try and flood as many platforms as possible with people like you, and not all those people are going to be goose-stepping in. Some of them are going to be fucking meaning around, but like ultimately that's the function that Dooby serves. As for his like politics Discord server, like that place is a fucking joke. The idea that like Nazi views get challenged in AMAs where people get to ask a question and then the Nazi gets to rant for 10 minutes is absurd to me. This is not a format where their views are being challenged at all.
So do you platform Nazi?
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. If that's what their goals are, they're pretty incompetent at it. Because, like, I mean, if we're talking about Twitch specifically, where the fuck are they? Where are all these fascists? Where are they? You know, I mean, the Nazis of old were a bit more competent, weren't they? I mean, they organised some pretty, crazy infrastructure and logistics back in the 40s. You know, it's pretty insane what they managed to achieve. But now they can't even muster a fucking 10 viewer Andy Twitch show, apparently. Okay.
Nazis to challenge them?
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't typically interview Nazis at all, no.
So you would rather somebody like Dooby be willing to, as you're saying, pull a bunch of right-wingers and a bunch of Nazis onto his platforms to give them a voice and not be challenged?
No, I said he funnels them.
So you wouldn't challenge them yourself. You wouldn't challenge them yourself to offset that, though.
I said he funnels them into the Twitch space, right?
So can we have some examples of people that are like began on his platform and rose to prominence to any type of scale whatsoever?
I mean, he spoke earlier about how much he assisted Brittany, so I don't need to really go into that in any kind of fucking detail. You can just like replay the VOD and listen to the examples that he gave. Why would I'm not interested in getting in a huge fucking argument about like, is this person like a fascist or not, or what have you. I can quite happily say these things, and people can play back the VOD. They can look at the history of what's been happening on Twitch. They can see it becoming a more reactionary space, flooded with fucking groypers, and know that this is going on. Right? Like, we can get bogged down in definitions and shit all the fucking time.
This just seems like bullshit because you're kind of just this whole crypto fascist kind of thing. It's not like it doesn't exist.
I never said anything about crypto fascist.
Yeah, okay. Well, then what are we talking about if we're talking about people who aren't going to specifically say all their views?
I mean, I literally just mentioned a whole bunch of fucking groypers, right? Which, like, is pretty well known within this community that Britney's community housed, like, a shit ton of America First people, right? Like, that's no joke. Dooby helped hook Prime up with Lauren Southern, I believe. He's looking forward to having an interview with Kanye, I understand, right? Like,
Wait, hold on, that's not true.
It's not.
I'd like an email of Lauren Southern, but unfortunately I haven't been able to set that up yet. And there is a chance, small chance, I'd give it like a 2% chance that an email with Kanye will happen on my server, which would be
I know how excited you are about that possibility.
I'm extremely excited.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it would bring a lot more traffic to your server, which has like
that's right.
Yeah, your server, which has in the past had connections to like more extreme, one would even say terrorist spaces on Discord, right?
Wait, when you say connections, what do you mean?
Sorry, did you not get doxxed by some fucking terrorists at one point, Dooby?
Okay, so when you say connections, you mean that Adam Woff and
Dooby, did you not?
were no,
we're in your fucking server. Yeah.
I'd like to.
Well, can Dooby actually fucking answer a question here? Like, what the fuck?
It happened with that.
So when you say, to be super clear though, when you say connections, you mean that there were like actual like fucking Nazi internet weirdos, Adam Woff and an 09A jackass. I'm trying to dox me in my mod team for years, and I ended up getting some of them arrested. So those are the connections you're talking about, right? To be super clear.
I mean, those are some of the connections, yeah.
Okay.
Can you run us through what happened with that, Dooby? Because I feel like the outcome there is probably for the better, right?
I mean, after some years.
I mean, yeah, after some random people on the fucking server that he operates have been harassed by literal neo-Nazi terrorists, right? Like, yeah, sure. Okay, sure. He provided the arena and the opportunity for the crime to take place, but at least they were arrested afterwards.
Wait, but
that
the
was
arena,
a good outcome.
The arena and the opportunity is the fact that the arena and the opportunity is the fact that the server exists, that any space exists on the internet, right, on Discord, right? So
no, Dooby. I think your server's connections to other far-right spaces far outweigh the average Discord server's connections.
We gotta let him answer answer the accusation, then you can.
Well, like I said, I don't know how much I'm interested in talking with Dooby because, like I said,
okay,
he just fucking lies constantly. There's not an honest word that comes out of his mouth.
Okay. So
oh my god, Jesus, it's getting spicy.
Server, I banned them, right? And what they were doing, to be super like clear, right? Is we used to call them like the Nazi wizards, right? Because what they would do is they would come on in the middle of the fucking night when we didn't have a lot of mods around, and the server was much smaller back then, but it was still pretty large. We had like 15,000 people or something like that, right?
Why would your mods
so
matter?
we didn't have any mods around to deal with them. And what they would do
deal with them how?
Well, can I just finish explaining really quickly? What they would do is they would go into a voice channel. They would target like younger guys, right? And they would do the JQ thing, they do Holocaust denial, and eventually they get to the space where they would say, I can't really go into detail about this here because the mods will ban you, blah blah blah. So let's go to this other server, and we can talk about it there. It's like more
grooming.
And they'd invite people to like this like full-on Nazi echo chamber server, right? And try to radicalize them there.
Well, Nazi regeneration.
Yeah,
not exactly the first time that's happened. I mean, your server was a fantastic resource. Yeah,
this happens all the time on Discord.
Okay, but it happens in some servers a lot more than others, doesn't it, Dooby?
Sure, I'm sure it happens in
because it doesn't really happen in my server.
Others, of course. Sure, okay. Your server's like I'm sure very lefty. You don't allow lots of people in there. I allow lots of people in my server with diverse opinions. So it's going to be a much more.
Also, the other thing as well is like, what about the scale of this too? Like, I'm sure Dooby's Discord is massively bigger than fucking Viv's, right?
You allow a lot of fascists.
There's gonna be a lot more room for people to target people there, of course. Yeah, so when we found out this was happening, we started banning them. They'd make alt accounts, come back. It's very easy to get around a Discord ban. You just get a fucking like a VPN, you get around it super easily. So that wasn't working. They started trying to dox the mod team, including me, because we were like we're banning.
Because you were banning them.
Yeah, and we reached out to Discord. They had nothing to offer in terms of health. No way to do like anything other than just like a Discord server ban. And then they were trying to like hack the bots on the server, and this is a very well-known group. They actually hacked the official like PUBG Mobile Discord server, framed me for it to try to get my account deleted. Right? They're like really active on Discord. And yeah, eventually, eventually I figured out a way to infiltrate their group. Took note of everything they were doing and reported them to law enforcement agencies in their own countries, and got a few of them arrested, and they fucked off.
Mhm.
I got them arrested for making terroristic threats toward.
I don't understand the point of this fucking story.
Well, so when you say that I have connections to these groups, these are the connections I have. I'm like acting against these groups as an
I
enemy.
didn't say you have connections, Dooby.
You said the server
I
has
don't
connections.
care about it. Yes, exactly.
So it's
Your server
ridiculous
has
to say that. It's
So your
ridiculous to say
server
that
was a
because we were
recruiting
targeted
ground for
by
neo-Nazi
Nazi
terror
jackasses,
groups.
we're somehow like tainted. Yeah, we
Your
got targeted like
your
lots of communities
server
get targeted
was
by
a
people.
recruiting ground for neo-Nazi terror groups, Dooby.
All of
That's
Discord is
the
a
story
recruiting
you
ground for
just
these people.
told. Actually,
Wait,
actually,
what?
actually,
What the fuck? How are you gonna listen to that and be like, "Yep, I know what this means. Your Discord was a recruiting ground for terrorists." Oh my god. Well, I'll probably watch it tomorrow. I don't know if it was in that one. There's another. This is the thing. Wick is actually coming in clutch with the content at the moment. There's another video that's come out, which is like to do with the word fascist. To do with the word fascist.
Chud Nation.
Hey, thank you for the sub. With his 10 members in the Discord, there are only no Nazis on Earth. So get the juice me up. It's Christmas.
The significant.
How are
with
you,
significant
Ginger? That'd be
moderation,
fun.
With sensible fucking policies, you can minimize that risk, right?
Okay, minimize, you're
Absolutely.
not gonna get rid of
Anybody can fucking. No, you're absolutely right. You can minimize it, but you're not going to get rid of it, right? But your server maximizes it. And like I say, I'm not interested in having an argument with a server that has been the subject of multiple fucking investigations, both
What
journalistic
investigation?
and legal, right?
Wait, hold
Like,
on. What
I'm not
journalistic
fucking-
legal
why the fuck
investigations?
would
Can
I
you give me
do
like some details? What are you talking about?
I'm not playing this fucking game. with
Okay,
you,
so you're just
we
gonna
had
say
an
it and then
entire.
not- okay.
We had an entire fucking panel in which we discussed one of the journalistic organizations.
What
sorry,
journalistic
investigations.
organization? You're talking about
I'm not
Unicorn
fucking-
Riot and
I'm not
and
fucking
Tifa.
getting into it,
You're
buddy.
talking about
Unicorn Riot and Tifa.
and their Discord leaks list, right? And my
I'm-
server was
I'm
not
not-
on there.
I'm-
so what the fuck are you talking
Your
about?
server.
Panos C making a comeback. It's too soon to say. I think that Wick is showing some promise in the way some of these panels are going. I think if Wick leans into the content more and he just lets the shit fly a bit more and takes a bit of a more of a hands-off moderation approach and stops trying to get people, like sometimes he'll literally cuck the content right in the middle of it. It's like, bro, just let them fucking fight. You know, I think if he keeps bringing interesting people on that have got contention, yeah. The biggest problem with the panel stuff is that there weren't enough interesting people to have on them, and the topics were kind of boring, and everyone kind of agreed. But one thing that Wick does do, which is a good sort of step in the right direction, is he actually asks and says, hey, what's your view on this? What do you think about this? So we can bring people on that actually fucking disagree about the topic. And that probably is why you're seeing some more interesting panels coming through. And these videos are actually, you know, doing pretty good on YouTube too, as well, it seems, over and above what content he did before. Yeah, I mean, anyone new is good. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone new is always good. Hey, Ginger, thank you for the sub. Everyone check your Prime subs as well, by the way. Have you got a Prime sub tucked away from me? Get it in there. Let's go. It's necessary sometimes. Sometimes you need to let the shit fling. Yeah, if it gets too much. But yeah. I mean, you need a kind of like someone with a few thousand viewers to come onto one of these things. And I think it's possible. There's no reason to not have a panel that's interesting or not have a panel with people on that will fight. It's just for, you know, a little while now, it's just kind of gone off track a little bit. Is Dooby genuine or a troll? I'm pretty sure he's genuine, yeah.
It's not on there, Dooby?
No, it was not, and it still is not. It is not on the Unicorn
So,
Riot and Tifa Discord league.
I'm still, like I said, I'm still not interested in like relitigating a conversation that we had fucking
hey,
2
Binks.
years ago now, while you pretend that you
Yes.
didn't know.
You're
You didn't know.
relitigating this. Stop
You
bringing it
didn't
up. And stop
know
lying
what I
about
was
it.
referring to.
Otherwise, I need to respond to
Like,
it. And hey,
like
then we're
this is just
relitigating it.
another example of how fucking dishonest you are.
You're-
Because you began by denying it. Then, when reminded that we'd had a conversation about it before, now you start denying.
Wait, hold on. Be
right?
super clear.
So I'm not
Again, I'm going to be
I'm not
super. So
fucking-
you said there was a journalistic organization. What you're talking about
I
is
said
Unicorn Riot and
journalistic
Tifa. And the
investigation.
reason I said that wasn't an investigation
Sorry,
to my server
Unicorn Riot and
is because is because
what,
my
what is
server,
this unicorn
my
riot
server.
Antifa?
Okay, I can pull it up for you in a bit. Okay, because
Sorry,
my
no.
server.
Do you mean
my server is not on that list, so that was not an investigation into my server. So
it was
I don't
an
understand why you're
investigation
linking that to
it
my
was
server.
an investigation that included your server?
No, it didn't, and it still doesn't. You can
It
pull up the
fucking
list right
did.
now. Pull it up. In fact, I can do it for you and I'll post it in chat and people can see if I'm lying. Okay, if that'll help you.
We're back in
Your
2020.
server was among servers that were looked at as part of that investigation. And one of the good things about your server DB, is that it's provided endless intel on other servers that exist in the space, because the amount of fucking people who come from far right spaces that also end up in your space, because it is so welcoming to people who want to talk about the Jewish question, like your mod team did regularly, right? Like, I don't need to. The fact that you brought up your mods earlier, the idea that they're somehow a moderating influence and not just trying to cover your ass from any kind of activity that might actually just get the server shut down is hilarious to me. I mean, you've admitted before that you'd had straight up fascist mods. So
we still have straight up fashion mods.
Yeah, of course
we have ethno-nationalist mods. Yeah, and we also have anarchist mods and extremely far left mods and very progressive mods and just bare.
I mean, most of those extremely far left mods
Like,
left
we have-
and showed us
No,
the
that's
fucking
not true.
screenshots of their
Hold on, that's
the
not true.
screenshots
That was
of the mod
that was
chat,
one
didn't
mod,
they,
and
DB?
he left because he was going to get demodded, right? And it's true that some of my mods make racist jokes sometimes. I'm totally fine with that. I make racist jokes
Yeah,
sometimes. I don't think it's a big deal.
Straight up JQing in the fucking mod chat. So what you're saying is you have a server.
Oh no,
full
not
of
the mod
fascists
chat.
that
Not
is
full of fascists.
moderated
You're
by
exaggerating.
fascists, and
By
you expect
fascists
us
among
to
others.
believe.
We have an extremely diverse group of people moderating the server.
You expect us to believe that this is somehow a well-moderated space in which nobody ever gets fucking recruited from, doesn't have any connections to any fucking insane far-right servers, doesn't act as a
made any
radicalization
of those
point for
claims.
anyone.
Can I ask a question?
No, it's a place where people go, and some people will shift off to the left because there are some lefties who go in there and fucking debate like hell, right? But broadly, it's a place where like far right people on Discord can coalesce and talk about how much they hate
Can I jump in here?
Amanda a chance to ask her
Because
question.
I'm just curious, because sort of in this vein, I understand the criticism, but then isn't this a job that like should be paid? Like this is labor. Like this is a full ass job. Like how can we expect anybody on any to be
Get this, Wick. What's this?
You also have a
Fantasy making a comeback. It's too soon to say. I think that Wick is showing some.
recognize your name? You're one of the mods, right?
No.
Hey, Diva Media.
I
Panels are back on the
too many jobs. I'm not taking on any more any more jobs right now.
It's been a minute since I've been in the politics server. I was keeping track of it up until about a year ago. But I'm working on.
I'm a bit of a new face. I'm just asking in this sense, sort of like we're making this criticism like to Dooby, of course, but to sort of pull it
Also,
back a little
sorry,
bit.
there's other angles to this. I mentioned the Mindwaves platform in Discourse. I spoke about it briefly the other day, but also I don't know if you saw, there was like a bit of controversy over Mr. Girl going on President Sunday's stream, which, you know, because obviously all of the people that were on with Mr. Girl have previously called him like a rapist or a pedo or like a rape apologist or all sorts of different things, to the point where some people even were like saying it was dangerous to platform Mr. Girl. But then here they are on a charity stream with him. But then the thing is, they're like, oh, well, it's for a good cause and it's only a charity stream and all this shit. But then it's like, well, okay, by that logic though, like you made, is there not an implicit suggestion then that platforming is acceptable if it's for a good cause? Do you not open yourself up to like potential issues of like, well, how much to have this controversial person on or that controversial person on? Yeah, exactly. They all cried about Mr. Girl being platformed, right? I mean, President Sunday did a whole panel about it. But you know, listen, I just kind of watched. I think I talked about it briefly the other day. I just thought it was kind of funny. I'm doing a charity stream. I'm inviting on all the Nazis based. Let's be honest, they're all okay with it since he hates Destiny now. They claim that's not the case. I don't know, man. It was funny because, and I did play a part in this, I guess. But people were using the DMs that I'd have a demon mama that I leaked about a week ago or whatever, because she was being dishonest. But people were using that to say, hang on, you said this about Mr. Girl. What changed?
Now, for the $1 million question
and look at the bigger space, how can we expect anybody to have that kind of level of due diligence and criticism when nobody's getting paid to be here? And we're all supposed to just assume that everybody's going to come out of their own free will just to be nice and not a dick. But at the end of the day, you can't guarantee that because we don't actually know each other, because we're only really talking to each other on the internet. Like, because in the sense of having experience in the marketing world now, as far as it goes, like this is a full, that's a job.
Can I just say, I don't think it's an insane amount of due diligence to say to not have like Nazis, JQers, fascists, whatever on your mod team, right? When you become aware of it, I don't think that's like some kind of insane ask that requires a fucking $100,000 a year salary.
Okay, but what if you're a Nazi? Like, serious question, okay? If you are, I'm not saying Dooby's a Nazi, obviously, but if you're a Nazi yourself, would you expect someone like? Would you expect Politically Provoked to not have Nazis as mods? So from a progressive perspective, if you're like a hardline progressive, yeah, it would be weird to have like, you know, Nazis or fascists as mods in your Discord server because you're supposed to be like a hardline progressive person. But if you're like not, if that's not your thing, then what does it matter? You can have whoever you want as a mod, can't you? I don't know. Am I crazy here? I think you should have whoever you want as a mod. I mean, I've got a Groiper as my head mod, obviously.
It's his space if he wants to put certain people in the position.
Cool. Yes, it's his space. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. But when I describe what that space is, that's not me saying I think Dooby should change it or whatever. I'm not looking to convince Dooby. I don't think Dooby's looking to be fucking convinced.
Wait, what? You just said that, though.
Dooby does what he does for whatever fucking reasons Dooby has for doing them. And he'll give you a million different ones depending on which day it is and who he's fucking talking to. So,
so then, like, how can we sort of like have that guarantee? Like in the same way, like he's an independent person, he's a private. Like a guarantee that Dooby or anybody else would follow the suit. Like you're assuming off of the good-willed natures of somebody that you don't actually know.
What do you think my prescriptions are? What do you think I'm?
Well, the criticism that Dooby needs to get rid of these people who are in the moderation panel that you disagree with, that are fascist.
I never said he needs to get rid of them. I said the fact that they exist there demonstrates a lack of ability to moderate fascist content on the server, right?
But so it's his server. It's his right.
Yeah. It's his server, it's his right, but it also is a place where like far-right people coalesce, where people get radicalized, where terrorist groups try and recruit.
You're kind of being dishonest because you were already accusing him.
How am I being dishonest?
You were accusing him of funneling Nazis into his platform. You recognize that when he talks about getting doxxed by these same people that they're banning for recruiting people into other servers.
You are he's talking about a specific group of Nazis, right? That he had to deal with.
Yes, but the point.
Hold on. Dooby said earlier already he already has people who are fascists, not openly, that he wants these people in there, not specifically that group because that group targeted him directly, right, and targeted other people directly, right, through like malicious fucking means, right. But he admits to having these people in his server, and he can't have them openly there because Discord doesn't allow it. But he does want them there, just not openly.
Yeah, I do think
fascism's a pretty diverse crowd. There are groups that don't get along with each other and dox each other all the fucking time. It doesn't like what one fascist.
Well, then it's not very organized, and it's not really good. Then, like, it's not a really strong community. So, like, that's a pretty good reason.
It doesn't need to be a strong community. All it needs to do is radicalize the right person, and all of a sudden you.
Dooby backstab Mr. Girl. You did the same thing, Doomer Media. What you on about? You fucking leaked the DMs too, you fucker. What are you talking about? You're both as bad as one another. I'm looking at the DMs of both of you thinking, damn, do I need to get rid of all the N-word posting? Are you going to expose me for my racism?
Got the Buffalo shooter writing his fucking diary on Discord and then going out and fucking murdering a bunch of people, right? That's all you need.
Can I ask Dooby a question? Is that cool? Okay. If I had to guess, so maybe I'm putting a little bit on my own brain on you or whatever, but tell me if I'm wrong here. Or rather, we'll get to that. Does your motivation for like keeping those people around in your server, like in your space, however you want to phrase that, does that have anything to do with where they would go if they were not welcome there?
Well, sort of, but not really. I mentioned earlier that one of the things that these like Atomwaffen and O9A like Nazis that were targeting me and the mod team and the community for like recruitment. One of the things that they wanted to do was they tried to blackmail me into deleting the server. because they wanted people in smaller servers, smaller space, where they could be like radicalized. They didn't like my server because I did have like an active mod team and we did have roles and we didn't allow them to just come in and say whatever the fuck they want. Right. So I don't think, and I'm so you guys can hear my dog barking. I don't think that just getting rid of these people does anything to help them. It does anything to change their minds. I think they just go into smaller spaces where they're allowed to be JQ idiots or do Holocaust denial. I don't think most of these people who do this are actual like Nazis. I think they're just like edgy kids who found fortune and are reposting memes. They don't know any like context. So I think you actually hurt these people and hurt the wider like, goal of like de-radicalizing if that's what you want to do.
Hey, Super King, thank you for the sub.
Challenge like openly and
I think it's pretty inane to even try and profess any kind of like solid de-radicalization effort through a massive fucking Discord that's basically a free-for-all for people to come in and scream at each other about various topics. I don't think that is any kind of de-radicalization effort at all.
I mean, you did talk about leftists that go in there and debate like hell. That's literally what you said. Like, there's clearly some pushback against those ideas naturally because it's some politics Discord, and presumably the overarching narrative in that Discord is going to be what's most popular, which is typically
which is
Nazi.
generally it's pretty far right shit.
Yeah, it's pretty anti-fascist stuff and anti-Nazi kind of rhetoric.
No,
yes.
no, the other way.
Oh, most people are pro-Nazis.
I mean, it's pretty far right shit when you go. I mean, look, I can say whatever the fuck I want on this server, right? Like, you would have to go in there and discover it for yourself.
I've been there. Don't worry.
I encourage you to.
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Recommend getting a VPN before you do, in case you get doxxed by a fucking
gang.
Nazi terrorist. Though.
This has been.
Surfshark. Come on, everybody.
Unless I can get some financial support right now, we're gonna raid out because that's
fucking pussy.
I'm tired and I'm hungry and I have a.
I want to fucking drag Yammer in here and fucking kick his ass for his bullshit about fucking Daryl Davis.
$3. We need enough.
Thing.
It's
I want to put a fucking nail in the coffin of hearing Daryl Davis brought up in every conversation about fucking de-radicalization. I'm so sick of it.
I'm sick of hearing about a black
man's
man.
A fucking hack.
Maybe
He's
we
a
need a
danger. He
show.
covers for fascists.
Hack? Is that some sort of old-timey racial slur that I'm not familiar with?
With that specific topic, because this isn't the first time you brought up your hatred for Daryl Davis, or your disdain, I should say. Hatred may be too strong.
It's fucking annoying because I don't even hate him that much. I hate that he gets brought up so fucking much. I just think he's an ineffective dipshit who ends up covering for fascists.
There we go. Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. Will that be a YouTube segment? Possibly. It's a bit quiet on the Western Front, but that was actually good content. I enjoyed watching that. I feel like that's a bit more of the old school panel kind of content type memes you'd expect. But yeah. But there we go.